live so I can do my little intro. So let me know when we're live.
Go.
We are. Go.
Oh, we are? Oh. Okay. My Mafia boyfriend POV TikTok just hit 28 million likes. I'm Spike.
I'm Kel.
I'm Amanda, and Spike is very behind the times on TikTok trends.
No, I'm not behind the times. I've been enjoying boyfriend POV TikToks for ages.
Mafia boyfriend POVs are kind of old, though.
No, the one that I saw up yesterday. The concept may be old, but there are plenty of new ones all the time. Hello, everyone.
They
Spike.
peaked, though.
Yeah. Yes, Cal.
There's a very. Do you know about Old Enough?
Old enough for what? No, I don't know what that is.
It's a reality show from Japan about toddlers going on their first errand.
As a matter of fact, I do know what that is. Yeah, Old Enough is that show where little kids are going on their first chore.
Yes. Yeah. Saturday Night Live did a very good sketch that's the American version of Old Enough, but since Americans don't send toddlers out into the world, they had to find someone equally helpless and clueless while running errands. So it's long-term boyfriends. And it's the girlfriend sends her boyfriend to get something from her from Sephora, and then at the on his way back, get something from the grocery store. It's very funny.
Yeah, in case you folks haven't noticed, we're trying something that's not necessarily new, but new-ish to the stream. We are doing a live draw. We're just kind of feeling our way through it, doing what we feel like.
You're drawing on your own layer. Yeah, okay, yes, I can see.
Oh, yeah, I'm drawing my own layer. It's fine. Don't worry. I won't touch your precious art. Don't worry.
I just don't want to accidentally erase each other's stuff.
No, we won't accidentally do that.
We could if we aren't paying attention.
Yeah, for the curious, we are using a thing. There are many, but the one we are using is called Drawpile because we tried to get the other one that's called Magma to work, and it just, for some reason, would not register any pressure sensitivity for me. I don't know why, but it's not an issue on, like, my hardware because, as you can see, it clearly works. Hello, Alan Lord. Thank you for coming. Hello, Untitled Project. Hello, Badger. Thank you for coming.
Very predictably.
Yeah. So the big news I want to talk about, I've had kind of like an interesting and eventful week. Y'all were there for part of it. So this will be old hat to you, but not necessarily to folks in the audience. But number one, I'll be running the next Iron Circus crowdfund on BackerKit. And number two, thanks to many people who are likely in here, the Iron Circus YouTube channel hit 1,000 follows. So now I am beholden to start a Let's Play series of my own design to upload here as part of Geek Show Games. And I'm super excited to do that. I've kind of been noodling and thinking about doing something like that for a while. And now that I get to call it work, I feel much less guilty about that.
Have you played the new Rimworld DLC yet?
Are you kidding me? Oh my God, I've played so fucking much of it. For folks who don't know, Rimworld has DLC that is called Biotech that adds a ridiculous amount of content to the game. Ridiculous.
Did you run into vampires yet?
I did, actually. Now, everyone, Rimworld is like a sci-fi setting. So they're not vampires. They're sanguinophages. And while
they're vampires.
Yeah, they're vampires. They're sanguinophages, and they are space vampires. And I didn't launch my current colony, my experimental colony, the one I'm kind of trying out concepts I want to use in my actual Let's Play for. I didn't launch it with any sanguinophages, but there was an event that was a brand new event that showed up. And the brand new event was some sanguinophages want to meet at your colony to discuss some sort of terrible secret business they don't feel comfortable discussing in their own colony, and you can give them a side room to discuss this in private, and they will reward you with, and there was like a list of things they could reward you with, or you could just capture them and extract their genes or like that. And I let them just have the side room. I don't currently have any interest in having any vampires in my colony, so I just let them reward me and then go on their way. But I have run into the vampires, and I also learned there's a kind of person in this game. I think they're called a Yatakan, something like that. They're
Yeah.
basically Chewbacca. Like, let's not fuck around. It's just Chewbacca. They're Wookiees.
I thought they were wolf people, but okay.
Oh, they are definitely not wolf people. They do not have snouts. They have very big beards, so they're like Chewbacca.
Spike, are you drawing Boltungan?
Well, they
Me.
have tails though.
It's important
They-
that you know Boltungan's being threatened right.
Boltungan is you. That rat is not worth Boltungan's attention. But the
That rat
thing
has
that I
a gun.
discovered, whether you want to consider them wolf people or Wookiees, I consider them more Wookiees because I don't know if you noticed, Kel, but there's a new item of clothing that's just a sash. That's like the bandolier.
Oh, okay. That makes
Yeah.
sense that maybe they're Ewoks.
Oh God, how awful! Don't even say that.
Uh,
But yeah, if you take the Itaken, the furry people, to a to a styling table and you get them some hair dye, they will dye their entire bodies.
cool.
I fucking love that. So I have these two kids in my colony that grew up together, a human and a
What
Yatakan.
should I draw?
And the human, since she's like 14, I decided she's going through like this rebellious phase. So I had her dye her hair blue and shave half of it. And I imagined her little Wookiee friend would want to do something just like that. But they technically don't have hair on their heads. They're just like covered in fur. So when I took her to the styling station and I had her dye something silver, her whole body turned silver. And I thought that was hilarious and great.
I'm still waiting for Pond Morpher to update. They said that like it's gonna take some time. So my assessment that it would probably be a month before I jump into it was correct. I do while discussing while people were discussing in Pond Morpher's Discord, one of them is like, can't wait for Pond Morpher to get updated because I'm gonna take some pig people and then I'm gonna mutate them into further pig people so they're double pig people.
Yeah, my big thing for folks who care about that sort of thing, for the Let's Play that I plan on doing, the one that I'm really going for, and I don't want to start out with this setup because that takes the fun out of it. I want to work for it. I want pig people. I want pig people who are green and have horns and have horrible red eyes. And getting all those genes is going to be a fucking struggle in game. Again, you can launch with those genes if you want to, but where's the fucking fun in that? I want to fight for them. So that's what my Let's Play is going to be composed of. Just a couple of women who decide the thing they want more than anything is to be horrible orc goddesses. And they hate robots. I've just decided they hate robots. So they're going to kill all the robots. No robots.
Where's the color?
There was definitely color. I'm actually not drawing in black. I'm drawing in a really dark.
No, I believe you, but I don't know where the color dock is.
It should be a column off on the right.
Again,
that's where it is.
that's where it's... Oh, I found it.
There you go. See, I can't decide what to draw, so everything I do, in case you folks haven't noticed, is laborious and slow and miserable. So this is me trying to figure everything out.
I'm customizing this.
Also, the Vanilla Expanded, I sent you this, Spike, but the Vanilla Expanded people said their plans for the mods. Now that they, because for those who don't know, Vanilla Expanded is
it's composed of people who actually work on Rimworld. Yeah.
But it's mods that like for the most part don't super change the game. A lot of their stuff is like aesthetic. Unless they do like a factions update, and then they add more stuff to it. So, but as soon as this new DLC, which has like genetic engineering in it, they were like, well, there's vampires in the game now. You know what this game needs?
Werewolves.
Yes, werewolves. So one of their mods they're working on is a werewolf mod, and there was already a werewolf mod, but I wasn't using it because it's janky as fuck, like, and
Yeah,
doesn't work half the time.
yeah.
Um, so, like, I tried it once and, like, it was just a fucking mess, and I was
There we
like,
go. That's what.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, the thing about that's kind of fascinating to me about Vanilla Expanded for folks who don't play Rimworld, Vanilla Expanded is just a whole team of people. They've got a Patreon and everything. And what it feels like to me that if you've ever worked as part of a large organization where the organization has meetings on the direction they're going to take as an organization and concepts are proposed and either accepted or quashed in committee,
Mhm.
what Vanilla Expanded feels like to me is every single brainstorm idea that the devs of Rimworld had and then decided was either too complex, unnecessary, or didn't mesh with the lore of the world, and therefore they decided not to make it an official part of Rimworld. They just turned it into Vanilla Expanded. That's what it feels like to me. And
No,
I'm, by the
because
way, all
only
for it.
only one guy in Vanilla Expanded works for proper Rimworld.
Yeah,
Because
Oscar.
Vanilla Expanded is like 5 different people. And so and I feel like it's not so much that because there's definitely like way wilder shit that he's done. And he also has like a second group of mods that are just turning Rimworld into Mass Effect.
Yeah,
Um
I never
so
done those.
I
Yeah.
never played with those either, but since I back him on Patreon, like he does also do updates for his Mass Effect Rimworld
Oh,
stuff.
Cultist Rat says, "Gotta find the right aliens to throw in the blender." Abso-freaking-lutely. And like, this is horrible. Listening to people talk about their Rimworld game is a lot like listening to people talk about their D&D campaigns. You're like, for fuck's sake, I wasn't
Yeah.
there. Actually, this doesn't bounce off me the way I think you want it to bounce off me. Stop, stop, stop.
Yeah.
But sorry, Amanda.
No, it's okay.
But
I'm just saying. Can
yeah,
confirm.
but a thing that has like part of the reason I have basically stopped watching Rimworld content for the foreseeable future, except for Samuel Streamer, is because there are things that I don't want ruined for me. I want to discover them myself. I don't want to watch someone's let's play and find out there's this whole facet to the game that I wasn't aware of, and now I have to watch somebody else deal with it for the first time. So I'll never be able to go in fresh, and that sucks, and I hate that. And that's why you can tell if I like really, really, really fucking want a game. Ignore what I fucking say on Twitter where I'm like, oh, I'm never gonna day one a video game again. No, I'm full of shit when I say that. Because if I really want a game, I want to experience it. I want to be the first person to have those experiences. I don't want them relayed to me. I want to be there in the moment. I will buy it day one and I will spend the next couple of days playing so no one can fucking ruin it for me. And beforehand, here's the thing where most people fuck up, where they talk about, oh, this is muted, by the way. No, don't fucking tell people you muted them. If there's a game I'm super into, I will mute the shit out of anything to do with it on Twitter because I don't want anybody saying anything to me about it. Nothing. I want to take it all fresh. And that's what I did with biotech. I carefully curated my Rimworld intake so no one would spoil biotech for me. And that really paid off recently because, as Kel can confirm, there is an event that happens in Rimworld. And that event is beggars who come to you seeking some kind of wares, money, weed,
Mhm.
beer, weapons, shit like that. And I got that. And one of the beggars was like bright amethyst purple. And I'm all like, what the fuck are you? And I clicked on them, and it turns out the bright amethyst purple beggar was something called like a life kin or a kin mate or something like that. It was a
Mhm.
specific
Who were they
genotype.
married to on the astral?
Yeah, exactly. Uh, they were a specific xenotype that's like perfect, like vat grown girlfriend or vat grown boyfriend. That's what they are.
They were born sexy yesterday.
Born sexy yesterday. That's exactly what they are. And I thought to myself, "Oh, that's so fucking interesting." So I went out and I killed all the beggars and I kidnapped them and enslaved them because it turns out they had a trait that's called unwaveringly loyal, which means they will never join my colony willingly. So the only way to get them to hang around is to enslave them. So I enslaved them and I turned them into the janitor and I started slowly extracting their genes. What
Mhm.
I didn't know about them is that simply by dint of living in my colony and just being around my people, they were going to eventually force one of my colonists to fall in love with them, whether I wanted them to or not. And that's what
Yeah.
happened. And it's not just that they forced them to fall in love with them, they are now psychically bonded to this person. So they can't leave the map with, without them, without having a fucking nervous breakdown. And also, if this enslaved xenotype like decides to initiate an escape attempt, which the slaves in Rimworld do all the time, and they get killed during that escape attempt, the colonists they have bonded to will have a complete and total psychotic break. And
Mhm.
and now I'm fucking stuck with this asshole who both refuses to join me but has psychically bonded to one of my colonists. All because I'm all like, "Oh, you're purple. I'll take that gene." So now
Oh.
I fucked up without realizing it, and it's fun to fuck up without realizing it in
You wanted
Rimworld.
all of your dogs to have short, squash noses, and now none of them can breathe.
Exactly. That's kind of where I am. It's super fun. Rimworld
Uh,
is
so while I wait for Pondmorpher, I am looking at stuff that people are doing in the new DLC, so I can make my grand plans.
uh-huh.
Um, and if it takes Pondmorpher too long to update,
Mhm.
um, I might just do a shorter Rimworld game that will be werewolf based, trying to find vampire based to annihilate them.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah. Um, but the first vanilla expanded biotech species that they're gonna make is dinosaur people.
Oh,
Um,
that sounds
that
cool.
that lay eggs.
Yeah, and again, for folks who, like, have no fucking idea what Rimworld is like, the thing that is really the killer app for it, you really don't have to give a shit about the actual, like, canon environment and setting of Rimworld. The thing that is really amazing is the modding community. Like, the modders are straight up superstars of those communities, and
Yeah.
because the graphics
Um,
for the game are so simple, it's really easy to get into, so there's a lot of really good content.
but I have now read enough about the different mods
Mhm.
to know some of the drama behind the mods.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the guy who made Dub's Bad Hygiene
Yeah?
hates the vanilla expanded guys.
Why?
Um, he apparently the vanilla expanded guys were gonna make like a plumbing thing.
Yeah?
And he was like, "You're stealing my idea," like,
Oh. Oh.
yeah, and he got very protective, and he also got in another fight with them because they did the chem fuel mod. And it's like, you're ripping off my oil baron mod by
Oh
with
my
this chem
god.
fuel mod,
Oh my
like,
god. That's so childish.
um yeah.
No, like, no offense. Like, obviously, plagiarism happens. We're all in agreement plagiarism is real and exists.
Yeah.
It happens.
Don't speak
But
for me.
but that's just fucking silly. Like, I am not the only person by miles to think it's kind of silly that Rimworld has this incredibly intricate and complex drug addiction production and withdrawal system, but nobody ever needs to drink water or pee or bathe. Like, I am not the only person who believes that. And so it's not beyond reason to say to yourself, two people can come up with the idea of modding a bathtub into Rimworld. Like,
Yeah.
you're not
Well,
fucking
I
idiots,
think I
dude.
think what it was basically like, because Dub's Bad Hygiene like already existed for years and years and was kind of the default one people were going to.
Uh-huh.
When the vanilla expanded guy said they were doing that, he was like, "You're just trying to kill my mod because people are going to find your mod and subscribe to it because it will work well with all your mods.
Oh
Um,
my
and
god. Grow up.
and then like they got into a fight about like your code is too clunky and like it's too bloated and other shit like that. And it's very much like every time I have had a mod problem,
Mm-hmm.
it has never been a vanilla expanded. It is almost always Dub's bad hygiene. Like
Ooh. Ooh.
if it is not Dub's bad hygiene, like this is like when I have mods that conflict, it is either the one that lets you run a restaurant,
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
because that one is like it's fun, but it's also like super broken and will kill your
Yeah.
frame rate.
Absolutely.
But if it's not that, the next one I usually turn off is Dub's bad hygiene, and that usually fixes it. So I just thought it was funny to see the Dub's bad hygiene guy be like, "Your mod, your coding is clunky and like inefficient or whatever." Like
That is funny.
when like I said, every time I've had mod conflicts, it's been because
Yeah.
of yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying this in an effort to include Amanda in a forced way, but you know what this is making me think of? Sims modding communities. There was this fucking oh god, okay, y'all, this is some Jurassic drama. So, oh my god, Beck H just fucking said in the chat. This reminds me of Sims modding. Holy fuck, same wavelength. Okay, this is the thing that I remember most about Sims modding because I remember when The Sims 3 showed up on Steam and it
Mhm.
completely ruined this one person's day. And I'm not going to say names because I don't want you folks going and hunting them down. But once upon a time, in the long, long ago, it was fairly difficult to find Black people hairdos in Sims 3. You had to actually go really, really searching. Part of that was the volume. There was just like so much hair being made. And like, if anyone was getting into Sims 3 modding, if they were getting into modding for the first time, they were making fucking hair. That was their deal. But here's the deal. There was one person who was making what I would consider good dreads, like dreads that looked like dreads that weren't shiny. They were
Mhm.
matte. They looked like they were made of nappy hair, like good dreads. One person was making them, but for the
Hey,
longest
someone tell
time,
me what to draw real quick.
Boltongan,
No, I said no. I didn't say Spike. Tell me.
a rat dressed as a clown.
I once again I did not tell Spike to tell me what to draw. I said
Okay,
someone.
chat. Here's your
Uh
chance. You
I
can
am
tell Amanda.
crowdsourcing this,
Oh,
not for
yeah.
you.
uh I I'm gonna say a fat hairless cat.
I did not say Kel. I'm
Okay.
crowdsourcing it.
But yeah, so
I'll
this
fight.
person made really good Black people hair, but I never used their hair. And the reason I never used their
Also,
hair,
sorry. I chugged
uh,
chugged a 16-ounce Monster. I mean, Red Bull. So I might be a
okay,
little high energy at the moment.
you're fine, Amanda.
I know. I'm
But
giving you a warning. I'm not apologizing. I'm just saying I'm a little high energy.
but what I am saying is I never used this person's hairs, even though I be the first to tell you they were great, because the person was a fucking power tripping jackass. And
Mhm.
when I say that, what I mean is if you wanted to download these hairs, you did not go to a website, you did not go to a hub, you didn't go to some zip site that was just for file downloads. You had to personally find this person's chat room, find them when they were in there, and they were not always in there, and you had to ask them with a please to give you the file for the hair and tell them what you planned on using it for and promise them you wouldn't use them in any like Sims dramas you uploaded or screenshots without
Mhm.
permission first. And that was so I was so repulsed by that level of fucking control freakiness. That was like, I don't care how fucking good a modeler you are. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not fucking groveling so my character can have dreads. I don't care. And Of course, if they caught you re-uploading these, by the way, you were absolutely that you were never getting a hair from them again. So that's how they tried to like keep this control
So
going.
Spike, you say that Sims 3 coming out ruined this person's day. Are you sure you don't mean the Sims 3 Island expansion?
No, I'm not. Sims 3 didn't ruin their day. I mean, Sims 3 going on Steam ruined their
Oh,
day. Because basically what that did is it made it super accessible to a lot of people who hadn't been part of the Sims community for years and years, and they didn't fucking lick that person's shoes. They weren't
okay.
interested, like they found the hairs and they shared them amongst each other, and when this person showed up all snippy and huffy, it was like, "You stop sharing my hairs immediately." They basically were like, "Shut the fuck up, control freak," and kept going. And their site, last I saw it, and this was literally a decade plus ago, so don't even ask me what's on there now. They had posted this whole thing where they're like, "I'm never making hairs for this ungrateful community again. I've taken down all my uploads. I hope you're happy. You don't know how to treat creators. This is why no one wants to make anything for the Sims 3 community." Which is, of course, a blatant fucking lie. Tons of people
Because
made
there's
shit.
a million mods for
Yeah,
that. The
exactly.
reason why I asked if it was the Island Adventure expansion pack is because I know a lot of people who modded Dreads into Sims 3. Then
Yeah.
that came out and had Dreads in it that looked halfway decent. So
Yeah.
it just became like, oh well, I don't need mods anymore. So
Yeah, it was
it
nice when they actually started giving a shit about what black people's hair looked like. That was nice.
Speaking of which, did you see that Sims 5 got announced?
I did not. I'm not surprised though. Sims 4 is how old?
It's almost 10.
Yeah, so there you go. They've squeezed every last drop out of it. $1,000 worth of DLC.
They're still releasing deals.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But with Sims
Um,
5 coming
Isn't
out, I think.
5 going to be a live service?
it
Ew,
might
really?
be.
Gross.
Yeah. So I
Mm.
think their plan is to have 5 release as like an online MMO thingy. And then they're gonna keep making DLC for 4 for people who don't want to play online.
Mm. EA
So I
fucking ruined Maxis, man.
pulled up the mod for the dinosaur people. They are genetically spliced with synthesized reptilian genetic material to improve compatibility with arid environments. They are cold-blooded isolationists with harsh voices and extremely low metabolism. Their
Mm.
sharp claws and harder scales make them particularly suited for melee encounters.
And they lay eggs.
Um, yes, they can lay eggs. So they can have a gene that's scale skin.
Uh-huh.
They can have a gene to lay eggs. They can have a gene to make them cold-blooded. They can have a gene to have release pheromones, which will get them greater emotional attachment to other people with this gene. Um, they can have a center frill in their head instead of hair.
And
They can
horns.
have frill ears. They can have a gecko tail. They can have a gene for what's called lizard voice. Carriers of this gene emit a dinosaur like sound whenever they take damage, get angry, or die. Um,
Yeah, that is a thing in the new DLC. There's roar voice and there's what's the other one? There's roar voice and something else. But you can have different voices now and they're gonna go fucking the modders are gonna go fucking buck wild with that.
yeah, and
Absolutely.
so and a new start is a crash landed one dinosaur person
Mm-hmm.
with 4 eggs that they need to protect and care for.
Oh, that's adorable.
So
Amanda,
they
how
have
bored are you of our shit right now?
I'm halfless.
They're half listening.
they've combined Rimworld with Dino Game.
Dino
Nope.
game. Nothing can be Dino Games equal.
No, it's a very different experience.
Yeah.
Dino game is like 100. The one I play is like 100% all role play.
I mean, I was joking, but
Oh, okay.
because I know that you talked about protecting your eggs in Dino Game
Uh,
is
Well, you gotta protect the eggs. By the way, everyone, in case you haven't heard and you got here late and you weren't here from the very beginning, if you go to BackerKit right now, there is a project that will launch in about 10 days at this moment that is for the new Smut Peddler doubleheader. And if you back it on the first day, you get an exclusive pin. And it's the only way to get it. No one else is going to get it unless they actually contributed to the book. Obviously, contributors are going to get some, but we won't be selling this in the store. There will be no pins available at conventions, nothing like that. And it'll be sort of like this cool commemorative thing for, Smut Peddler 10 years I was there. So if that tickles your pickle, that might be something for
This
you.
specific design, is it just this specific pin? Are we never going to do a pin of this design again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, just this. You can only get it by backing the first day of the crowdfund.
I'll bring this up in the Slack later because that feels like we've just cut our okay.
It's marketing.
I mean,
it's marketing. We got to do marketing sometimes.
No, I understand that. It's just the specific design we picked is like, wow, we have cut ourselves off from a lot of opportunities.
Oh, I get what you mean. Yeah,
But
okay.
we haven't publicly posted the design. So
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like that's
the
why
one we were talking about.
That's why I'm being so vague.
Yeah.
If we use that design that we were talking about, and we say this is an exclusive design, we've cut ourselves off from ever using that design again, and considering what that design is, that seems unwise.
Yeah, we can talk about it in the Slack.
Yeah.
I get what you mean now, and I think that it is worth discussing.
Okay.
But yeah, My Monster Girlfriend, obviously, since it's my fucking publishing company, I have seen the interior, I've seen all the stories. It's a fucking blast.
I edited them with
yes.
Andrea.
Yeah, and it's a fucking blast. And in case you forgot, Iron Circus won 2 Eisner Awards this year for previous work on anthologies, so we clearly know what the fuck. Not for the porn, but we still clearly know what the fuck we're doing, if I can say so much. And
half of our editing team is
half of the editing team, yes. But so what I'm saying is y'all should get this. Absolutely get these artists paid for these fucking excellent stories. Get this fucking porn out into the world. I'm so excited to see what BackerKit does with it, because BackerKit can do some actual fucking magic. It's kind of wild what they're capable of sometimes. I'm curious to see if they can do for Smut Peddler Doubleheader 2 anything remotely like what they ended up doing for Woman in the Woods, which was also absolute fucking magic, I have to say, but we'll see. And I'm not going to turn this into like let's shit on Kickstarter thing, but the thing that really excites me about
Spike, they're kissing.
They're kissing. The thing that really excites me about BackerKit is the marketing angle, which is why I'm very marketing-y on Twitter these days. I'm going to make this layer invisible. See, this is wild. You folks can't see what I see, but Amanda has made one of the layers that she drew on invisible, and I do not know how to do that. So I'm going to have to, let me click this. Oh, like that. Oh, there we go. Look at that. It's off. And
I can look
at
it's a beautiful pasta.
Spike. The next vanilla expanded mod is going to be vehicles.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah. Oh, that's how you did it. Okay.
Yeah, My Monster Girlfriend was invitation only.
Yeah. So if I go like that, I'll be like, okay. And then I'm going to sit here and I'm going to see if it stays or if it goes away on the screen there. Because I don't know how to do any of this. Because I'm brand new to this. And I wonder what I see. The thing is, I don't know what the lag is like, so I have to sit here and wait. Ooh, look at that. Oh, see, now your possum is far away. Yeah. And I just drew a little satyr. That's what I default to. I default to little shy satyrs, everyone. Yes, it's
What
easy.
else should I?
So okay. So
I
it
can draw.
should be in
I will draw my D&D character.
it should be invisible now, I think. Let's see if I can't make a new layer. Oh, oh, is that how you do it? Okay, I'm learning a lot of things.
Wait. Oh yeah, because Kel was like draw a hairless cat, and technically that's what my D&D.
Yay! I get what I want.
Huh. Hey Amanda,
Um,
how did you make the little lady in the corner you drew invisible to the audience? I'm
I just
curious.
hid the layer.
You hid the layer. Okay.
I made a new
So
layer, and I hid
hide
it.
from oh, okay.
It's just you just click the little box next to layer. You
Okay.
toggle it.
Cuz okay.
um,
See the little black square next to the layer 3, layer 2,
Yeah,
layer
and I
1.
made it white and he's invisible to me now, but I
Yes.
think everyone else can see him.
The inks.
Yeah, all of it. He's I can't see him, but I
Oh
can
yeah,
still
I
see
have.
him.
Okay, yeah, I have to. Yeah, you have to. I have to make him invisible. Do you want me to make him invisible?
Oh, okay, sure, yeah. Thank you.
oh,
And
Spike, do you know what the forward party is?
the four-word party? No.
Yeah. I was watching some more news on YouTube, and it's basically a tech bro decided to make a political party that believes in ranked voting, and that's kind of their only stance on any issue.
That's I mean,
and
okay.
and yeah, it's very much like the point of a political party is to have opinions, and you seem to have none, sir.
Hey, Amanda, make me a new layer because I think you have to do that for me too.
No, you can do that. Go to
Really?
layer, new layer.
Okay. Oh, up there. Okay, I was doing it in the sidebar. Okay. Boom. There we go.
um
Can I
it
drag
was
you?
just funny because
Mhm.
it like did a whole big like segment like digging into what's going on with this new political party, and it's
That stands for
basically
nothing.
like it stands for nothing, and it's basically we stand for a third option existing, and it's like that doesn't help anything. And then like this guy was very briefly in the Democratic primary
Mhm.
for president, and dropped out very quickly because he had zero ideas, and clearly hasn't like researched anything political at all. Um,
Do you ever like stop and think about the insane luxury of not having to give a shit about politics?
yeah, it was also like he apparently also ran for mayor of New York, and he was like, "We'll see." And when getting interviewed about the homeless situation in New York, he was like, "Well, some of those homeless people have special needs, like victims of domestic abuse, like they might be fleeing their abuser, and we need special homeless shelters for them." And the interviewer is like, those do exist, and while
Yeah.
there are capacity problems, they do already exist.
Yeah, those are
Like that's
definitely things, yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of thing just occurred to him, and it's like that's
Mhm.
a thing that already exists. It's uh
Yeah. That's wild because it makes me think too of like every once in a while you'll see someone go like, "Well, why don't the X just Y?" And it's all like, "Hi. Okay, so I know for a fact you don't actually care about this because the X have been Ying since the 1960s. And
mhm,
if you gave a shit, you'd know that. But what you're currently doing is whatabouting, which is
mhm.
not an argument. It's just very embarrassing for you."
And it's just funny because it was like clip after clip of like the interviewer correcting this guy, like that
Yeah.
already exists.
Yeah, I mean, that's privilege, not having to know these things, not
You
having to
you
be
you
aware,
buffoon.
never having been homeless or near homeless or fucking in threat of just house insecurity in your entire fucking life. Yes. Yes. Congratulations. There are homeless people and there are special services for them. You figured it out. Good for you. It makes me think too about how tech broy that is, in the sense that every once in a while tech bro will say some shit and it's just like, that's a bus.
Yeah.
That's a
Or like,
subway.
did you like when Tech Bros reinvented vending machines and
Yeah.
called it a bodega box.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, these are things. See, what that actually feels like to me is every once in a while you will you'll come across like some crypto people who are just sort
Mhm.
of like desperate to figure out a way, like they understand on a certain level, crypto bros understand that the boomer bus has left the station, it's pulled out of the station without them. They are being denied opportunities that previous generations got to enjoy, and as
Mhm.
a result got to experience class mobility in a way that now at the very very least feels impossible. So they dedicate themselves to trying to find a way to make themselves indispensable parts of systems so that there is no way you just can opt out of dealing with them, and they can get a cut of money that feels as effortless as boomer money looks like it was. That is at the heart of it, at the core of it, what a lot of crypto bullshit is about. Trying to figure out a way
Yeah.
to invent a new necessity that you are now in control of. And the way they go about it feels just as clueless as that guy going, there should be special shelters for people who are fleeing abuse. It's like, yeah, those exist. Those are real.
Yeah.
Like when
Uh
WeWork decided
uh
it wanted to be a landlord but make it tech, and it's like, landlords already exist. You bring nothing to the party.
Joe is in my chat saying, "Have you've heard of soy milk and oat milk? Now, what's in it? Let's try beef milk. It's like soy milk, but stronger." And it's like, buddy, sir, that's uh
Beef milk. Oh god. Like the thing is, yeah, beef milk, but just when you say it that way. Oh my god.
um
But yeah, it's when you like there you can find like, tech bro self-owned shit all over Twitter, and it's stuff like, okay, what if we had Uber but it was like multiple people taking the car? And it's like, that's a bus. Like
yeah.
it again, it smacks of younger generations, because it's always like this certain, like the kind of person who describes himself as an entrepreneur. But the thing is, like, bitch, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't call myself an entrepreneur because there's something attached to that that's more descriptive and more accurate. What you are is someone looking for an in. That's what I think when I see people who just have entrepreneur in their like Twitter bio. It's like, I have to figure
Yeah.
this out. I have to figure this out. I don't particularly care about anything. I'm not particularly passionate about anything, but I have to figure this out. I have to figure out where the money comes out. I've got to do it. That's what entrepreneur says to me. And these are the dudes who are literally trying to disrupt industries they don't know shit about. Like they show up,
Uh,
and every once in a while they'll say something like, "Well, here's the thing. What people really want are comics that move. So you can be part of my new, comic movement comic thing." It's like, yeah, that's called animation. It's not new. There's a whole infrastructure. If people want to see comics that move, they literally know where to go. This is not a thing. But it's a thing that keeps popping up every once in a while. You see someone, it's like, yeah, my new movement comics. And it's like, no. You don't know anything about the industry you're trying to disrupt. Go away.
um
I'm just over it, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm just
but
over it.
yeah, Spike, if you don't, some more news is a hoot. Um
Mhm. I have no idea what she's wearing. Let me just. I guess ruffles. She's not really a ruffles kind of gal, but oh,
al-
here's it.
also I watched Jesse Gender's response to Matt Walsh's transphobic documentary.
Oh god. I always think about like how all these fucking transphobes always have this whole thing where they get define woman and they think that's like a trump card, but all I literally think of when I see that is a Twitter exchange that's probably 10,000 years old. And it was somebody like challenging a turf on Twitter by just going, "Hey, can you perfectly define for me a chair in a way that encompasses all chairs but leaves out all not chairs?" And and the person tried and they said something like, "A thing with legs meant for you to sit on it. There, how hard was that?" And in reply someone posted a picture of a horse and said chair. Like you can't even define a chair using the parameters when they go define woman. It's like that is language is not up to the fucking task of certain things.
Uh, yeah, so Jesse Gender's thing is like going through his whole documentary, quote unquote,
Oh,
and going over like when he's being manipulative and when he is being disingenuous. And
I'm saving that. Like, it's great because like I need a long thing to watch, but also like if there's a certain intensity to it where like there's certain long subjects where I'm like, oh yeah, I want to get in the nitty gritty, but this is a kind of subject that like will 100% depress me and put me in the dirt.
yeah,
So I'm just like,
yeah.
I
yeah,
have to be ready for it.
and there's a part that this is also the thing. I don't know if you saw this when it happened, but he got in trouble because like he was used like a fake
Yeah.
uh he made up a queer studies
Yeah, I
like
remember when
production
that was
company.
live.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
the
and
Twitter.
was using it to get like interviews. And so in the middle of the documentary, um and to a point where I'm surprised that he kept it in the movie, um the doctor that he's interviewing realizes like, I think we should end this interview because
Mhm.
the language you are using clearly implies like an agenda. And he basically like gets upset with her because she's like, no, see, the language that you're using frames this in a disingenuous way. And um
Mhm.
so she called him out on being a piece of shit in
Yeah,
his
but
own documentary.
he's a literal self-described theo-fascist, so he doesn't care.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, part of
um
me just I'm probably never going to watch the documentary. I'm not even gonna watch people's dissections or takedowns because I literally just don't even want to give it oxygen because that is the one thing he absolutely 100% wants more than anything. I'm not even going to let it have mental real estate. I'm going to
Well,
give that
I'm
mental
gonna
real
watch
estate.
Jesse's video because Jesse's videos are good, and one of them made me
Yeah.
cry. But that's the thing. That's
Oh.
why. No, one was really good.
Oh.
Which one was it? There was the one where it basically was the one where she has like a dialogue with her pre-op self, and it made me fucking cry. And it's like, if this is anything like that, I want it, but I can't have it right now. I've been crying a lot lately. I don't need this.
Aw.
But that was also a very good video. I forget which one it was, but I was just like I was crying so much. I was like, I'm gonna send her a message about it. Like, don't do that, you weirdo.
Oh, she'd probably
I
appreciate
know,
it.
but at the time it was like, no, you're making this decision because you're emotional.
uh I'm mostly watching it. Usually I skip her heavier videos because I
Mhm.
want to talk about dumb pop culture things.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm watching it because it got taken down
Oh.
for breaking YouTube terms of service. And like it was a whole big thing, and it was because of like one joke she made about cuz it and so I her videos were kind of like, her video got taken down. They wouldn't tell her why. They gave her a community strike, which is even worse than,
Yeah.
yeah. So like if she got 3 of those, then her she would not be able to post videos, period.
Wow.
And so it was kind of like her using her video getting taken down for reasons that they would not tell her why, as a like talking about YouTube's censorship problem and how it unfairly censors like LGBT stuff.
Uh-huh.
So I mostly am watching it because like fuck you YouTube, I'm watching this video.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, there was a whole big thing that she's still going through
Yeah.
um because while there's a new version of the video up, it's still like their system is intentionally opaque to let them get away with shit. Like,
Yeah. I recently watched a video by,
Matt
not
wants me
surprised.
to tell everybody about my TNT character.
I recently watched a video by one of my favorite creators on YouTube, and I'm sure the favorite creator of a lot of people here, Caitlin Dowdy, Ask a Mortician. And I was actually super excited to see she had come to Chicago and she had done a video about the Eastland disaster,
Is that the one that
which,
got you got what was it?
yeah, that's exactly where I'm going.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I'll let you can.
Thanks. The Eastland disaster was when a very not seaworthy ship fell over essentially in the Chicago River because it was just poorly maintained, poorly balanced, overloaded, and a lot of people drowned. Hundreds and hundreds of people drowned. And a lot of families were on board because the whole point of the Eastland being chartered that day was to take them to a picnic. And it
mhm,
was for a bunch of garment workers. And it was this incredibly traumatic, terrible event in Chicago's history that Caitlin was covering largely because it had been almost entirely forgotten for multiple reasons, but probably the most profound one was that was right before World War One was about to absolutely bust loose, I think. And so it was being shoved off the front page for a lot of other heavy shit. But it was still this like massive, horrific disaster that cost hundreds and hundreds of lives. And people died in the Chicago River of like the early 20th century. So it's not like the Chicago River now where there are fishing spots and shit. It's the Chicago River of industrialized middle America, full of like sewage and animal corpses and people who fell in and had open wounds got septic and died like because it was that nasty. So that Chicago River is what those people drowned in, and sewage and like dead chickens and slaughterhouse runoff and garbage. That's what they died in. And it was
mhm,
just a horrific, gnarly death. And the video was really well done and really sympathetic and really detailed and heavily researched. And a lot of it was shot not just on the site of the Eastland disaster, but it also was shot in the Bohemian graveyard, I believe it is. That like that's where a lot of people who died were buried. And it was just like a really well done, like Caitlin does it again kind of video where I fucking love everything she does. So obviously I love that. And then shortly after it went up, she posted a video talking about how YouTube had taken it down and she contested them taking it down because they gave a bullshit, weird reason for taking it down. And then when they put it back up, it was clearly shadow banned. And it's not appearing in searches. It's not appearing in anybody's feeds. It's just not manifesting as part of the algorithm. It got taken out with like laser precision sniper style. And she knows this is what happened, not because YouTube told her, but because it was just screaming ahead in its view count, like hundreds of thousands after the first week, and then it just stopped dead in the water. And that's not how this shit works. uh, Getting watched in YouTube means more people get recommendations to watch you. So the
mhm,
fact that they got 900,000 views in like 1 week and then nothing means it's clear they're being quashed. And she was just expressing her intense disappointment and frustration and talking about how glad she was Patreon was around so she got to do work like this because at the end of the day we all live in a capitalist hellscape and we need to figure out how to make a living, and she couldn't do this. It's clear YouTube doesn't want her to do this. And they're doing everything they can do short of just blanking her channel and banning her to stop her from doing this this isn't the content they want on their platform, but they will grudgingly, make money off of her and sell ad space in front of her videos because they do get traffic. They just want to discourage her from making videos like she just made. And that
What
is just such fucking bullshit.
what what was their bullshit reason for not liking the video?
Um, they said something like depictions of violence. I think it was just something that was like, really? How the fuck did you get that from that? And I know YouTube is supposedly, I watch a bunch of true crime stuff, and I know YouTube is supposedly cracking down on true crime channels because it has now decided it doesn't want true crime on the
Mhm.
platform. This is what I am hearing from true crime channels. Like, they think they're getting muzzled algorithmically, and they think their videos aren't showing up in anyone's recommendeds. And I believe it after this because
Well,
that is,
I also think you'll notice that YouTube cracks down on things usually after commentary community latches onto something and brings something to the forefront. And the
yeah,
commentary community kind of latched on to true crime. And honestly, rightfully so, because the true crime genre on YouTube, there's a lot of great stuff, but there's a lot of really awful shit that's like, frankly, sensationalist and borderline unethical.
yeah, absolutely. I agree
And
with that.
And
it got brought to
and
the
they're yeah. You finish, Amanda, sorry.
it just got brought to the forefront. You see this happens in waves. I feel like a lot of people are getting caught up in like the YouTube going, oh god damn it, now everyone's paying attention to this. Well, anything vaguely like they're just doing their wide
Yeah.
sweep.
And the cracking down on true crime is also uh amplified by the fact that a lot of people are mad at Netflix for their Jeffrey Dahmer show right now.
That's
Um
stupid.
well, I think like they have a valid point cuz it kind of is like you should feel bad for Jeffrey Dahmer and it's like no, no you shouldn't.
Is the documentary actually saying you should
No,
feel
no,
bad?
no. This isn't a documentary. This is a show that's fictionalizing like his life and the murders he did.
Okay, I didn't know that. I haven't watched it.
They released the documentary at like around the same time to maybe partly confuse the people that are not paying attention to what one people are talking about.
Okay.
Because there's basically a fictionalized show where the guy who is the lead of the Netflix show You is playing Jeffrey Dahmer. So he is they cast him because hey, you played a obsessive stalker that's sexy. How about playing a serial killer that we can make sexy? Um and um so there's a lot of like look at his poor childhood, feel bad for him, and then like reenacting court scenes without talking to the people that are actually like are still alive and were there.
Mm. That's
Like
in
yeah, so
Yeah, that's interesting because it makes me think about so there's a YouTube channel I do enjoy, which is
mhm,
a channel that is about sort of Hollywood history. If you are a fan of the podcast, you must remember this. I strongly recommend a channel called Be Kind Rewind. And Be Kind
mhm,
Rewind is very much in the same wheelhouse as You Must Remember This, where it's just talking about entertainment industry stuff. And it's very
mhm.
interesting. And they recently did a takedown of I don't know if this is Netflix or Hulu, but it's another series. It's another fictionalization of someone's life that people have been talking about. Blonde. And
That
their
is on HBO.
okay, and their takedown has made it clear I am never fucking watching that, like
Yeah.
ever. Like, it talks about how this is a feature I see in a lot of very poorly made media, and it's
Mhm.
something that if anyone here is a person who makes fiction, I implore you to check for this in your own work because no one is immune, regardless of their politics, regardless of their genre,
I
regardless
think
of it
I'm
all.
fine.
And it is you show something in fiction and it is shown in a way where you give lip service to it being a bad thing, but you're clearly fucking luxuriating in its depiction.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the accused the things I've seen people talking about the Dahmer show are
Yeah.
accusing it of doing. Um because uh it was basically so two YouTubers I watched talked about it. So I haven't actually seen it.
Mhm.
But so one was Jack Saint, who basically his whole video is, "Did this even need to exist?" And his answer to that is no. Um, it doesn't add anything to the conversation. And he's the one that said Netflix dropped the documentary around the same time to partly confuse the issue.
Mm.
Um, and then James Somerton is a YouTuber who does like queer history media stuff.
Mm.
And so he was talking about how um, the Dahmer show is tapping into sexy serial killers that like have recently gotten big fandoms online, but this is problematic to do with Dahmer because he is a real serial killer and he killed real people. This isn't Hannibal Lecter and being played by Mads Mikkelsen on the show Hannibal, because he's only killing fictional people. The Dahmer killed real folks, and like maybe don't make
Yeah.
sexy fanfic about him.
Well, the thing is, this is sort of a known thing. This is a known feature in people's sexualities that the danger
Mm,
is what gets them off. So I'm not
yeah.
really surprised to hear this.
And then I found out who made the Dahmer TV show, and I have zero interest in it before, and then finding out who made it like negative 100 interest now.
Uh-huh.
It's Ryan Murphy who made Glee. Um,
Yeah,
and also, yeah, and he also made American Horror Story. Um, and I think I don't think that he is capable of writing women in a way that is not insulting.
I feel that way about what I've heard again about the Maryland thing, the
Mhm.
blonde document, because it's like, what is a man thinking when he decides, you know what this needs? A rape that didn't happen. Like, what is the thought process when you are literally inventing traumatic assaults
Yeah.
for a character who canonically character or a person, I should say, because I'm thinking Game of Thrones here too, who like a sexual assaults that canonically did not happen. Why did
Well,
you do that? I want to
I
know
didn't do shit.
why you would do that. You know, it's
in Game of Thrones' case, I feel like it's even worse
mhm.
because they weren't aware that they put a rape scene in. And I feel like that's even worse.
It is.
Like I feel like someone going, I think this show needs more rape, let's put more rape in it. At least they're aware of what rape is. And so the showrunners of Game of Thrones, because you're talking about Cersei and Jaime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, where they're like, this is fine. This is just rough. And it's like that's
No.
no, that's
That's assault.
non-consensual.
Yeah.
Um and um the new Game of Thrones show, House of the Dragon, it made a big like when it was coming out, oh, there's gonna be more non-consensual sex in it. And like that was like a lot, made a lot of people be like and then not watch the show.
Uh-huh.
um But having watched it,
Mhm.
it was not what I expected because I was expecting something like what happens in Game of Thrones. There is a scene where the queen basically has a lie back and think of Westeros moment.
Mhm.
Like, and it's, oh, that shows that this showrunner is extremely more aware of what consent is than the previous showrunners.
Yeah, the thing about Maryland that bugs me is, again,
Yeah.
and this is all from, and Jose did point out that it's not just Be Kind Rewind is not just a Hollywood history, excuse me, YouTube channel. It focuses specifically on women's performances and experiences in sort of, I guess you would call it golden age Hollywood. So that is true.
Mhm.
And this person talks about a lot of the decisions, the person who runs Be Kind Rewind, talks about a lot of the decisions that are being made by the writer director of Blonde. And I could not help when I heard them just be all like, the "a man wrote this" vibes are off the fucking, just like,
I
if
thought a lady wrote it though.
I like,
Or
maybe.
maybe it's based off a book that a lady wrote.
Yeah, okay,
Because
that
I
is correct. It is based off of a book a woman wrote, and the woman was interviewed about the adaptation into Blonde, and she just honestly seemed astounded.
oh, okay.
And there is like this whole bit where he's putting in like threesomes that never happened, as well as sexual assaults that never happened. And it just feels like someone going, "Oh, it's so sad, isn't it? Look how, ooh, hand under the table, look how exploited and sad she was." Yes. And it's just so fucking like, oh, you typed this with, this is so like the real shitty weirdness with Marilyn Monroe, authentically, is the men who fucking tried to cram her into pre-labeled, easily digestible little boxes and fucking reconcile that with her image as a sex symbol as opposed to an actual living, breathing woman with desires and emotions and thoughts. And you're literally just doing it again. And it's so fucking, I urge everyone to watch that Be Kind Rewind channel's takedown of Blonde and not actually watch Blonde because it's so
Yeah,
fucking gross. It's
I
so
wasn't
fucking
gonna
gross.
watch it anyway, because
Yeah.
even if it wasn't gross,
You don't,
there's a
yeah.
lot of biopic movies are not very good.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing that like gets on my nerves is that they talk about their interviews with the director in the Be Kind Rewind, and he's just kind of asked, you put in a lot of shit that like didn't happen. Like we all know that you put in a lot of shit that didn't happen, and yet this is sort of like going to be interpreted by at least a segment of the audience as documentarian because that's just how this shit rolls. Like, how do you feel about that? And his answer is just functionally not my problem. And it's like, wow, you suck. You suck real
Yeah,
bad. That's bullshit. That's bullshit and that sucks. And you jerked off and while you wrote this and it's lame and it sucks and you suck. Honestly, I'm kind of annoyed I'm even giving it oxygen right now, but I just want to tell everyone not to watch it because it sounds incredibly fucking gross.
yeah. And it sounds like the Dahmer show is equally gross.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
A Their Tales. Be Kind Rewind is super fun. It's especially fun. There's one video that the Be Kind Rewind host has about whatever happened to Baby Jane and sort of the drama behind it, the Hollywood drama behind it, and it's really fun to
uh,
watch that. But
Spike, if you haven't watched James Somerton's videos, you should. He has a really good one about the history of gay porn.
okay.
Um, I did not expect the history of gay porn to take a brief pause to go over a true crime story.
I can believe it. Wait, is this
uh,
does this have anything to do with who's that guy who had the giant dick?
no,
Okay. Because there's
It's specifically a guy. It's a recent thing too because it's a guy who he got his career in gay porn by basically looking like Zac Efron.
oh god.
Um, like that was like Zac Efron, like High School Musical Zac Efron. So like that gives you a
Uh-huh.
timestamp of around when this happened. And the cliff notes is he maybe lied about his age, was instructed by the director to lie about his age. So he was technically underage when he made his earlier films,
Mhm.
and was stuck in a really shitty contract because of this first director he worked with. He wanted to go work with a different like studio and director, and that studio director is like, "Don't worry, I'll handle this." And I'm hearing this part and thinking, oh, he's gonna blackmail him with the like, you film someone underage. And it's like, no, it just turns to murder. Like the house gets
Oh.
burnt down and people get killed, and then everyone flees the country, and it's like that's a turn I did not expect.
Yeah. There is some oof. Oh, the history of porn in general is okay. For folks who are not old like me and folks who do not compulsively watch documentaries like me, there was a period that is interestingly, this ties back into You Must Remember This. There are a couple episodes of You Must Remember This that cover this. There was a period in the 70s slash early 80s that you could refer to as porno chic. And it's when
Mhm.
suddenly X-rated films were being watched by like Hollywood people and movie critics and all
That's
kinds of
when
folks.
like Midnight Cowboy came out, right?
Midnight Cowboy, specifically, what really kicked it all off was Deep Throat. And Deep Throat starred Linda Lovelace. And the plot to Deep Throat, strap in, the plot to Deep Throat was that there was a woman who could not orgasm and she was very sad about it. So she went to the doctor to see what could be wrong. And it turns out her clitoris is at the back and bottom of her throat. And so she could only orgasm by giving deep throat blowjobs. That is the plot to the movie Deep Throat. It's incredibly fucking stupid and it was incredibly fucking popular through some zeitgeist lightning in a bottle shit that could never happen again. And Linda Lovelace was physically coerced into filming that movie by her incredibly shitty, abusive boyfriend. She did not want to do it, and nobody involved can even argue that it was anything but coercion, because the makeup people in the mornings would have to put, what do you call it? Foundation. That's the word. Foundation
Mhm.
over all the bruises he gave her last night. It was
This
super fucked
conversation.
up. Yeah, super fucked up and awful. But yeah, the history of porn in general is shitty and bad.
Mhm.
Just like the history of Hollywood. The history of Hollywood in general is pretty shitty and bad. For folks who aren't
Yeah.
like aware, this we've actually sort of had a discussion like this where I think it was you, Kel, who was talking about how we're falling back into the old studio system with the way things are going now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
for folks,
because the YouTuber Broy Deschanel like has made a couple of videos about that.
yeah. And for folks who aren't aware what the studio system is, it's kind of like, I mean, it is what it says on the tin. Imagine you are an actor in Hollywood and you get signed. You don't have the choice to sort of, well, Paramount is making an interesting film about X and 20th Century Fox is making an interesting film about Y. I will entertain both. Send me the scripts and I will choose. That's modern. That's not the studio system. The studio system is you are signed to Warner Brothers or 20th Century Fox or what have you, and you are contractually obligated to appear in this many Warner Brothers films per year. And if you don't play ball with the people who sign you, who put you on salary, by the way, you get a certain amount of money a week. You don't get like $1 million payouts. You are put on salary. And if you do not play ball with the studio that has signed you, not only do they fire you, but the word gets out at every other studio, you are difficult. So your career in Hollywood is functionally over. That's the studio system. And in case it wasn't obvious, that is the system that studios prefer. because it quashes the ability of movie stars to get enough clout that they actually have a decent amount of say in their careers. And Disney is super hyped to bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the studio system. And it sucks and it's bad. And it's why things like SAG exist, by the way. Screen Actors Guild was started way back in the day, and it was started to combat what's currently going on, quite frankly, with, and I'm gonna fucking put my foot in it here, going on with people like video game voice actors, where they would see these films building these gigantic studios and making these directors and producers millions of dollars, and they were getting a salary, and they were like, what the fuck? Like, how is this fair? So SAG came about to combat that, to give people things like residuals and fair shares and going rates. And needless to say, the studios are not a huge fan of SAG. Anyway, that's human history. Yeah. Aether Tales, human history overall. Yeah, things are just shitty and bad. There was a tweet I saw on Twitter recently that was like, it has always sucked ass to be alive. And it's like, yeah, pretty much.
Elon Musk is now firing top execs at Twitter.
Oh, so the sale actually went through, huh?
Yeah, and first person he fired was the legal affairs chief, who was the one that pushed Twitter to ban Trump.
Oh my. Oh well.
Cool.
Everything's terrible.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not going anywhere though, by the way, folks, just FYI. Like I said on Twitter earlier today, I know there's some people who would absolutely fucking love it if I surrendered the largest platform I have. That's not going to happen. I am on the platforms owned by lots of shitty, awful people.
Yep.
And somebody tweeted something along the lines of like, the best thing I can do is stick around and use up more bandwidth and make him lose more money. Because again, I'm pretty sure Twitter has never actually been profitable. So
I mean, but he doesn't own anything that's profitable, so.
no, he doesn't. But he's a genius. So,
Oh, Joe is in my chat. Oh, never mind. Joe was asking me to repeat it and then just posted. Never mind. He's reading it now.
Okay.
Joe is saying the studio system is another reason why he is not a big fan of current superhero movies, because they're just an endless parade to trap creative people in a bazillion movies.
Yeah, I have a lot of current feelings about the current state of large film. I think these days films are a lot like comics in the sense that the bigger stuff is getting increasingly flatter and more tasteless and more featureless and running together into a gigantic gooey mass with no real distinguishing characteristics from one another. But if you walk past that and you look for shit that is more specialized, has more heart, has more soul to it, I think now is an amazing time to be reading comics. You have better access to smaller creators and more interesting ideas now than you literally ever have. It has literally never been this good if you are a person who enjoys reading interesting comics.
Another James Somerton video that was really good is he talks about there's recently a gay romantic comedy that came out called Bros that underperformed.
Yeah.
And the writer slash director claimed it was because straight people are homophobic. And
I remember that.
And James Somerton's thing goes over all the reasons why it didn't do so well in the box office. The biggest of which is that it's a romantic comedy and people don't go to see romantic comedies in theaters anymore. Period. Even straight ones. All the straight romantic comedies that have come out recently have been streaming only
Yeah.
things. So like,
You
of
know what my
course,
first you know what my
uh,
first thought was when I heard that whole, "Oh, the straights ruined my movie" thing the guy said? It
yeah,
made me think of when any movie goes down these days and someone inevitably says something, well, the kids they have no attention span anymore. They're just watching the TikToks. So no one can sit down and watch my hour and 48-minute and 39-second tour de force. They don't know how to process anything longer than 2 minutes. And it's like, my good bitch. I have lost count of the number of people who have recommended to me like 8-hour deep dives on iCarly. The attention span of 20-year-olds is not your issue.
yeah,
Maybe if you made something they wanted to watch, it would be easier to get them to watch it.
uh,
Don't blame TikTok because no one liked your movie.
yeah,
Also, TikTok hasn't been around long enough to really like. Not even
yeah,
Vine. Neither of those platforms were long enough to really affect anyone's attention.
No, and that's not how that shit works anyway. It's just someone looking for an
Well,
excuse
I
why
think
their
people could be
movie
conditioned to
underperformed.
have certain expectations, but like none of those platforms have like really been
Yeah.
around long enough to even do that.
No, but it's easier than saying I made a shitty movie
Oh no,
that no
yeah.
one wants to see.
well,
Like,
so James Somerton, because the thing is that the movie got like almost 100% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes.
yeah.
Um, and but it just like people didn't go out to see it, and so his arguments were like, I gave you the one that he said like romantic comedies in general don't do well in theaters.
Yeah.
Um, and like straight or gay, they just don't. And since they're low budget, they're kind of perfect for straight to streaming service movies right now.
Oh,
Um,
speaking of low budget and perfect for straight to streaming, I've been getting all caught up in cinema YouTube. In case it's not obvious lately, I've been getting all caught up in cinema and movie to YouTube. And a thing I am coming to regard with increasing awe is Blumhouse. And I know a lot of people are like, that's old fucking news. But for folks who don't know, so there's a guy his last name is Blumhouse, and he has this method where he just funds horror movies, which are, interestingly enough, among the cheapest movies to film.
mhm.
If you bring him a horror script, and the way I can compare how he produces movies, quite frankly, it's a lot how the late 20th century, early first 20th century romance novel publishing, like the Harlequin publishing model worked, where you bring him a script and these are so easy to sell. He is more willing to fund your crazy bullshit idea as long as it's not incredibly expensive. So you're all like, I have a script about an iguana that fell into a lake, and the lake was full of radioactive toxic sludge. And now the iguana is actually a cloud of bats, and it can latch onto your throat and turn you into an iguana man. And he would pause and he would be like, can you film it for $2 million? If you say yes, he might say yes. And his whole deal is he funds like 10, 15 movies a year, and only one really needs to pop off to pay for them all. And
Um,
it's gotten to the point now where sometimes you see movies in theaters that are labeled as Blumhouse's X, like, so Blumhouse is Lake Placid, for example, or something. And it's become sort of this mark of almost like excitement and quality that you're about to see something really weird and original. And I think that's super fucking cool, especially since the current,
I
like, kind
mean,
of,
not always, but yeah.
not always, yeah, but the current,
He will also. They will also will make easy schlock that they don't
oh, for
care about.
sure.
They do that a
Like,
lot.
like a great example of a Blumhouse movie that sort of kind of kicked off, it wasn't huge, but it was a movie that was all filmed on a Zoom call or a Skype call where everyone just sat in their house and, oh, the killer signed on and wouldn't let any of them sign off.
Oh,
And
that one. That didn't really pop off. That one was. of a big joke.
Yeah, but people talked about it is the thing, and it definitely paid for itself because it was incredibly cheap to film. And
Um,
that's like really in contrast to what Hollywood is kind of doing and what if I could again connect this back to animation, what animation is doing too, where right now when people hear it's like, oh, did you hear this Disney cartoon? It cost $300 million to make. Holy shit. But if you look at what these sort of things cost in other countries, and yes, labor costs are going to be different in the US as opposed to other countries,
Wait, that was a
but
Blumhouse one?
what was?
Friended?
I do not know, but
That's the Skype one.
yeah, yeah, Unfriended. I'm pretty sure that was.
I looked this up.
Yeah, tell me
I don't
if it
think
is
it
or
was.
not.
Okay, no. They were one of the production companies.
Okay then. So, anyway, but the thing is, Disney films and a lot of films, quite frankly, that are made in the Hollywood system, they are in production for years, years and years, and a
Oh
whole
yeah,
lot of
no, that
cooks.
that movie made a ton of
Yeah, a whole lot of cooks are in the
I guess.
kitchen. Yeah, a
Guess
whole
its
lot of.
uh,
budget and its box office.
Are we talking about Unfriended?
Yes.
So the movie you told me didn't make a lot of money. It
I
did make
didn't
a
say
lot of money.
I didn't say that.
Drywater is in my chat saying, I thought the idea was that the studio never threw more money at a project. So if you run out of money, too bad. Which means that they're great at scoping costs. And the secret ingredient to being successful working with them is being disciplined with your budget.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty
Oh,
sure I said that nobody liked it.
well, enough people saw it, so
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
that's
But
what I said.
I think it was a fairly goofy concept, but the idea is it made a shit ton of money and
Yeah,
cost very little.
yeah.
And that's
Um,
in contrast to Hollywood films, which are now costing hundreds of millions of dollars because there are so many cooks in the kitchen. It takes so long to actually get going because the studio system isn't actually a thing anymore. There are people who are showing up like Robert Downey Jr. going, okay, I will fucking lend my incredible presence to your film, but you will have to pay me tens of millions of dollars to do so. And that is part of the budget. The same way, and it's like even animated films that aren't Disney, I should note, sometimes people are like, holy fuck, why did this cost 100 million to make? And the answer is because one of the voice actors is a famous Hollywood actor and they probably paid him millions just to do the voice. So that's where all the money's
uh,
going.
Anyway, before Spike interrupted me, I was making the point on why James Somerton says that bros didn't do well. One of
Mhm.
which is no one is seeing rom-coms in theaters. The
Uh-huh.
other of which is all the marketing for bros is insulting other gay movies. Like
I
it's
admit
we're
I
the
did not see the marketing.
so the ads for it are all about how they're the first queer romantic comedy made by a big studio, emphasizing big studio and therefore implying they're better, all that indie shit doesn't matter. Like and that combined with the fact that the whole cast is super white,
That
is
can't help,
like
no.
yeah, so like the other gay rom-com that came out recently was Hulu and is Fire Island. Um and that one did not present itself as better than other gay rom-coms. And also had a lot of I think most of the cast was Asian.
Mhm.
Um and but also had like a diverse range of people, gay guys in the movie. So it
Yeah.
wasn't just like the white guy story, but gay. So
Yeah. 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 I mean, and that's a thing that kind of seems to be coming up in a lot of discussions about current culture and current output in film. And it's one of those things where I always interpret complaints about that as like someone can't deal with the fact that time marches on and demographics
mhm,
don't really give a shit about what they think of things. And
mhm,
this country, it's getting less white, it's getting less straight, and it's just that's just the thing that's going to happen, has been happening for 20 years. It's decades too late to put the brakes on no matter what the Proud Boys tell you. It's
yeah.
just a thing that's going to happen. And the people who realize this are the people who want to make money. I think it's super important we all, as a species, understand Disney cannot be air quotes woke. Warner Brothers cannot be woke. These companies cannot be woke. They exist for one reason. They exist to make money. Everything they do is to make money. If they think they can make money by making a superhero a woman or brown that previously was not a woman or brown, they will do that. They don't really give a shit about how this looks to folks who might be a woman or might be brown. Outside, does it mean that enough people will see it to make us more money than we would have otherwise? That is their entire motivation. They don't actually care about you. It's incredibly important to keep that in mind. It's not a win, it's not a triumph, it's not a success. It's a corporation eyeing your wallet going, what about if she was black? That is what that is. And just like sort of like, please accept that. Please understand that. Please be at peace with that. You will be a happier person. I'm just so fucking cynical, everyone. But I'm not
I
wrong.
think I think it's really funny that Disney finally realized they fucked up with Owl House.
Will admit I have never seen an episode of Owl House.
Well, here's the important part.
Okay.
It was canceled,
Okay.
and they fought to get 3 movies instead of the. They were gonna have a season 3, got canceled, and were told no season 3. Fought real hard, got 3 little movies to be their season 3.
Okay.
Several trend there was an interview with the creator who was like, so since it was announced that it was canceled, there were several Twitter hashtags to try to save it, and the execs were like, well, anyone can trend on Twitter.
That's true.
And then they saw the line at New York Comic Con for the panel,
Really? Huh. Okay.
and then it was the most viewed thing for on the Disney Channel, even though it aired at 9 p.m., like
Oh,
the first season 3 episode.
oh, so Disney
Um,
Channel shares
and
viewing
and
statistics.
and then this is the other thing. Then they put the episode on YouTube, and it became one of the most watched videos on YouTube in less than a day.
Wow.
And it's like, oh, we fucked
Yeah.
up.
Now
People
they
do
believe.
really like this show.
Yeah.
Um,
And they had a change of heart because money.
No, they haven't uncanceled it yet. They just
Oh,
realized they fucked up.
oh,
I hope one of those executives
yeah.
gets fired for that.
Probably not. I
I
mean,
mean, it's a
a thing that, oh god, it's like I'm trying to, okay, without getting too into it, I imagine Kel and Amanda can confirm Iron Circus has been sort of paddling around in the kiddie pool adjacent to a few things the past year or so. And the vibes I get from media conglomerates that are much bigger than anything I own ever will be, the vibe I get is one of sort of like monumental complexity, but also monumental self interest. And I'm not even saying that's bad. I'm saying it's there is a there is an impetus in a lot of studios to be the one responsible for the big win because that can make or break your career. This is only natural. This also happens at like fucking Dunder Mifflin kind of companies. This happens
Mhm.
everywhere where you want to be the one who lands the big account and then everyone will be like, "Oh, employee of the year." That also exists in Hollywood. But it can make people make otherwise impossible to understand decisions. Because while that impetus is there, everyone wants to be the one who signed The Simpsons. You know what I mean? Everyone wants
Yeah.
to be that guy. But at the same time, they don't want to take the risk the majority of them, that was required to be the guy that decided I should give this Matt Groening guy a half hour every Sunday night. That took a level of gumption many people who are in charge of those decisions do not necessarily have. Not all of them, certainly, but a lot of them, which is why Hollywood kind of has this perma case of follow the leader.
Right.
And
But it is reported that it was one guy's idea who pushed through canceling Owl House.
oh, really?
And
Why did they listen to him?
he might be the current CEO of Disney.
Ah, there you go.
That's like the creator didn't name names in the interview, but like
Ah,
that's people's guess.
yeah. That is
But
another thing, yeah.
but depending on how big of a fuck up this is perceived by everyone, like that could even get the CEO fired.
It could if it's a big enough fuck up for sure.
Yeah. But since it is one guy, if it's not the CEO, maybe that guy's fired.
Maybe.
Or they
Make
just
him.
view all the attention it's getting right now and they're fine with that.
Mhm.
We're like they're gonna actually care that they.
Well, the thing is, it doesn't have to matter that they care. If the stockholders decide you have actively lost us money by making bad decisions, well, how they feel will be irrelevant.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting situation. I don't know why I'm trying to become involved in it, but
The
it's an
current CEO, like a lot of people are unhappy with him because of him not making a stance on that "don't say gay" thing in Florida. Like Bob Iger went on record and said naming this guy as his successor is the worst business decision he ever made.
Mhm.
Um,
Is this the guy who was completely bald, the cue ball bald guy?
yeah.
Yeah. I get that. I also think I was like, I have interesting feelings about that dude as well because there was a thing circulating on Twitter today that was like the
Mhm.
epitome of bullshit clickbait, and it was about him. And
Mhm.
it was talking about he says cartoons aren't for adults. And I'm like, okay. Well, that's like patently untrue. And I want to see where he's getting this opinion from. So I clicked it.
And it was we don't make cartoons for adults or whatever, probably.
No, what it was I do not feel cartoons are things adults want to watch, but my feelings don't matter. We have to listen to our audience.
Mhm.
So they literally cut his quote in half to get me to click on that shit. And that was
Yeah.
so fucking bullshit. I was so annoyed by that literal headline that was the opposite of what the dude actually said that I blocked that Twitter account because I do not want to get my news from a source that would do that.
Yeah, the thing like the thing that I mentioned that Bob Geiger said about the bald guy, it was mentioned in a James Somerton video, and I did like follow up and look at it, and that source did check out, like he wasn't misquoting it,
Oh no,
Bob
no,
Iger.
no.
Yeah,
No.
and so I think it's interesting because I mentioned on a previous stream that I've read Disney War, and like it's interesting that like because it goes into what was like Michael Eisner's philosophy. Bob Iger is who he picked to be his successor, and it kind of seems like Bob Iger was following the same pattern as Michael Eisner, but did a better job at it.
Mhm.
And um, part of Bob Iger's disappointment in the guy that he picked is that he has so far not been able to continue that line of thinking. Part of what made Michael Eisner successful when he started is he didn't believe in paying for celebrity names. Like he was of the firm belief that if a movie is good, it doesn't matter if you have Robert Downey Jr. in it, if you have, well, today's Robert Downey Jr. in it, because he might have been okay with, at the time, Robert Downey Jr. Like there was a joke in entertainment magazines that Disney's talent scouts would hang out outside of rehabs and
Uh-huh.
get actors that were like on recovery or doing like their apology tour,
Yeah.
because he wanted, yes, the actor has to be good enough to carry off the script, but he is of the firm belief that if the script is good, then you
It
don't
does.
need to get Tom Cruise in it or like whatever other A-list celebrity in it. So don't waste money on getting big name talent. Just spend the money on making the movie.
Well, Disney don't believe that anymore.
Well, so the thing is, if you look at when the MCU started,
Uh-huh.
all the people that are big names in the MCU now, Robert Downey Jr. hadn't done that much since he started Iron Man. Like he had
Yeah,
done
right.
his rehab stint. Chris Helmsworth was a nobody, and so was Tom Hiddleston.
And the
They
other
were,
Chris.
yeah.
Yeah.
All the Chris's weren't big names.
Yeah.
And so he was not investing in A-list talent. He was getting relative unknowns so he could sign them into those multi-film contracts
And
at a
not pay
cheaper
for a time.
price.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And same thing that they did with Star Wars.
yeah. And that has been roughly what they've been continuing to do. And you're only getting, when you do get people that are already A-list celebrities in the MCU, like Christian Bale was just in the Thor's Love and Thunder, it's they're playing like a villain who's gonna die at the end of the movie, so they're not
Yeah.
coming back.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely smacking of pining for the studio system there, but I'm definitely thinking in terms of like these days the thing seems to be for some reason celebrity voice actors in animation. Which,
mhm.
we all know why. We all know why people do that. And it's all Robin Williams' fault. We all loved Robin Williams as the genie. I love Robin Williams as the genie. He was a great genie. It was a right choice. It was a good fit. He did a great job. Made the movie. But also, again, with the whole sort of Hollywood playing follow the leader thing, the same way that Jordan Peele
Wait,
made
how
a
is it his fault?
Because they decided that the killer app wasn't Robin Williams, who's a fantastic comedic actor who really brought a lot of voice life to the voice, and that's
That's
why.
not Robin Williams'
That's not
fault.
his fault.
That's
n-
Jeffrey Katzenberg and Michael Eisner's
They
fault.
decided what made that movie was that it had a famous person doing the voice, not that Robin Williams was good. So
Yeah.
Robin Williams was traceable after that point as
Yeah, but
kind
that
of
was in
being.
spite of all of his effort.
Yeah, I'm not saying he tried to make it that way. It's just that is the patient zero for a whole bunch of executives rubbing their chin, being all like, "Celebrity voices,
But
eh?"
there aren't that many celebrity voices in animated Disney movies.
No, that there are a lot of celebrity voices in animation now.
Right, but that doesn't, when we were talking about Disney specifically, like
Yeah. And
not
them no
spending money
longer
on not
well,
spending money on A-list actors.
no offense, but there was like Beyonce in the Lion King remake, right?
Yeah.
It's like they do spend money on A-listers, and I wouldn't even call them voice actors because there was like a tweet that described this perfectly a while ago. That was, voice actor, and it had, okay, so this is my part. I'm going to disappear inside it. I'm going to make you see this character. I'm going to embody everything about this person. I'm going to use my voice as a tool to make this character and this role come to life. And under that, it had celebrity voice actor. Hey, everybody, it's me. It's like, yeah, pretty much.
See, I had blocked Lion King out of my memory.
Yeah, it's a lot of people did. A lot of people
Yeah. Um,
did.
but
Yeah,
I was thinking like their actual animated movies, not their live action remakes.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, they do spend money on celebrity voice acting. They absolutely do that. I'm not saying they do it with the same frequency they used to. I'm not saying that they do it with the same sort of paychecks that they used to. And Lion King remake did have B-listers in a lot of roles. Not all of them, but a lot of them. But yeah, it's a thing that is
Well,
still done by
so
Disney as well as other people.
so Beyonce is an A-lister in the movies in the music scene, but I wouldn't say she's an A-list actress.
I would say she's definitely expensive.
Yeah,
So, I mean, we can sit here and be like, is she A minus? Is she B? But I can tell you right now, they didn't get her for SAG scale.
right.
So,
I'm just thinking about Julia Roberts got like $1 million for Ocean's 11, and she's barely even in that movie.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's how it goes. Remember for a while there, like Jim Carrey was getting like a grotesque amount. I forget how much, but a lot. And Tom Cruise was getting the same amount too, like 30 million a movie. It was just something absolutely stratospheric. It was massive.
Yeah.
And again,
Um,
studios don't want to do that no more.
yeah. But the big criticism for bald guy that I've been
Mhm.
hearing.
He just hasn't
Um,
got a name. He's just bald
I
guy now.
forget his name because he wasn't in Disney War. He wasn't a character in it, so he didn't have a job yet.
Uh-huh.
But uh, there was basically the thing is he was the one that really pushed Disney Plus, and Disney Plus is not on track to be profitable until 6 years from now.
Okay.
So like stockholders were already mad at him, and then
Hmm.
the don't say gay stuff, like he really stepped in it with that.
Mhm.
So then stockholders got more mad at him, and now it is very clearly a mistake that they canceled Owl House
Mhm.
for BS reasons. They were just told you're not on brand anymore.
Yeah. That's a Hollywood decision, all right.
And so yeah, so I kind of feel like okay, maybe he could pull it out of the water, but like it kind of seems like his days are numbered because
It'll be interesting
um
to see.
yeah, cuz it's definitely like the guy that was backed him for the job is like this was a mistake. Um
But yeah. Um I I can't help but notice that I just have increasingly little doesn't sound like a real term, but that's the only way I can describe it. I have increasingly little interest in large studio output
yeah.
because it feels to me like we're settling into this pattern, this routine where they're just going to be sort of churning stuff out that I don't particularly care for, but because it's from this size of a studio, I'm expected to be well versed in to somehow prove I am aware of
Do
things.
you know how many people have asked me if I've seen Werewolf by Night yet?
I don't even know what that is.
That is an MCU thing that obviously involves a werewolf based on the
Uh-huh.
title.
Okay.
Um, it's like it's on Disney Plus, and it was like a Halloween special that they dropped.
Oh,
And
okay.
I have been asked by 90 bazillion people if I've seen it, and
Uh-huh.
my
Yeah.
response is my desire to not watch anything MCU related is outweighing my desire to watch werewolf things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just I mean there's a bunch of little piddly things too that I'm just like I'm not feeling it, and but it's times like this I feel incredibly grateful because I don't want to make this just the full complaint stream. I feel incredibly grateful for again the sort of accessibility that's now there because you can't sit there and you go, movies suck. I hate movies because it takes, frankly, not a shit ton of effort to find some stuff that will probably really speak to you in this day and age. Like, you might have to be a little proactive, but it's definitely out there. A great example is Okay, I talk about this guy so much, but I swear it's for good reasons. The Your Movie Sucks guy. There's a guy who is on YouTube who is kind of my gateway drug into cinema. I don't want to call it snobbery, but maybe cinema awareness. And his YouTube name is just Your
I
Movie
take his
Sucks.
opinions with.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not saying I agree with everything he says,
And
but
this is not necessarily to you.
yeah,
This is whoever's listening.
yeah, I appreciate him largely because when he finds something he really likes, the same way I appreciate Kenny Lauderdale, who is that guy for me, but who is that guy for me for animation, specifically anime. Um, he gets very enthusiastic about the
So
films
I
he
said
does
that very
enjoy.
dryly. Like, I don't also watch the guy. I also watch Your Movie Sucks and enjoy the stuff. I don't know. Sorry,
Yeah,
I didn't mean to sound
that's
so
I
dry when I said that.
no, it's
I I don't watch him because I think he belabors the points and his videos are too long.
but he's fun. He's
I
fun.
disagree. I think he is repetitive and tedious.
I like his voice because he sounds like he's fucking had it with you. I like he sounds so fucking over you no matter what, no matter how he starts the video. But one of the things I really
It's the long
appreciate.
hair, isn't it?
What's wrong with
Yeah,
what's wrong
yeah.
with the long
He's
hair?
I
he's
didn't
your
say there's
type.
something wrong with.
We're just saying that he's your type.
Oh, you mean on Your Movie Sucks? I thought you were talking about your drawing, Amanda. Okay,
What?
no.
No.
Okay.
No, your
Why
movie
would we?
sucks,
Why?
guys. Your type.
No one was talking about my drawing.
I don't know. I was just looking at it, and then you
Oh,
said
okay.
it's the long hair, isn't it? I'm like, no, no, it's fine. But Your Movie Sucks. He did this thing. It's like, all right, I do not recommend seeking this out, but it happened, and now I have to share it to just sort of like exercise it, like I'm watching Ringu, and I have to have to pass this on to another person so I don't die in a week. There is a very old short on the Your Movie Sucks channel, a very old review, years and years old, I think maybe 8 years old even, where he demonstrates it is very, and this is fucking live on video, and there aren't a lot of things that get me, but this fucking got me. I actually needed to like turn it off and not look at it. He demonstrated it is very easy for him personally to puke.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Oh, and
Wait,
I
what?
wasn't
Wait. I'm sorry. What brought this on?
I was just talking about him, and that is a thing I now associate with him indelibly forever. But the thing that I appreciate him for, especially these days, is he is the guy who was incredibly adamant and strongly recommended that I seek out and watch one of my favorite movies of the past couple years, Border, which was just like mwah, chef kiss. If you've never seen Border, last I checked, it was on Hulu. It's fantastic, and you should watch it. Yes. I beg you not to look up any details about the plot and just to go in raw and watch
See,
it.
that's why I won't do it if you're telling.
Okay. Everyone who is interested.
You really like to blindside me with stuff I hate.
Okay, anyone who's interested in watching Border raw with no pregame, just jump ahead 2 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna give you a second to do that. Amanda, it is
Draw a penis real quick. Draw a penis. So long as the penis is on the screen.
No.
Spike is
No.
talking about this.
No,
Quickly, Spike. That's
I
how
am
people
not
will
going to
know.
get this stream taken down. The thing about Border is the plot is it's Scandinavian, and do you know about Scandinavian folklore about trolls?
Give me a second. I'm drawing the penis. All right. So long as this penis is on the screen, Spike is talking about the movie. Once this penis has disappeared, you can come back.
I don't want this censored though.
Look at that! Do you think we're getting censored for that?
Yes.
No.
But anyway, it's about Scandinavian. It's based in Scandinavian folklore. It is about trolls, and the story is about a woman who is a border officer. So if you are crossing the border into her country, she's the one who takes your luggage apart. And she is super fucking good at it. She is also a very unattractive woman. She is not conventionally attractive in the slightest. She is made aware of this at every turn. It is just a thing she has accepted, that she is an ugly woman. She is also sexually dysfunctional in a very vague way. She cannot have penetrative sex. So the boyfriend she has settled
I don't
for,
want to get reported, but we're gonna like you're gonna mention say words that usually have to get bleeped for
Yeah,
monetized stuff.
this
It's
is
like
gonna get this whole thing like
you thought
demonetized.
my
well, I'm
cute
just
little pee was gonna get us.
anyway,
Yeah.
anyway,
Anyway,
let me just keep going. But she is living a really dissatisfying, sad life, and she considers herself chromosomally deformed, is how I think she describes herself in the film. And she is sort of not content, but she has accepted this is her lot in life. And then she meets a man at the border who looks almost exactly fucking like her. Like, almost, it's like they could be brother and sister. He is ugly in the exact same way she is. And it should be noted she's adopted. So this freaks her out a whole lot. Like, oh my God, like who is this guy? Am I related to him? I need to talk to him. And this guy has this air about him, like he knows secrets that he could tell her about herself. And in case you couldn't guess from my pregame, they're not people, they're trolls. They are Scandinavian trolls. And
uh,
she is
Spike.
adopted because in the 70s, there was a program in these countries to wipe out actual real trolls that were actually real. And the children were taken away from the parents the same way you might have heard Indigenous children in Canada were, and given to humans to raise to deny their actual trollness. It turns out the scar that she has on her lower back isn't from a deformity that got corrected in her childhood. She did not have spina bifida. They cut off her fucking tail. That's what Border is about.
Yeah, you done talking
Yes.
about this specific? Okay, I will erase the penis.
It's really good. It's really good. It's
Penis
super
has
good.
been erased.
And it hits that sort of magic sweet spot for me, which is the mundane and the fantastic holding hands. I really liked Border. It's really good.
So when Spike was first telling me about this movie,
Mhm.
she refused to quote unquote spoil it. And then I informed her, and it was just like, no, I'm not going to tell you anything else. You just have to see it. And I was like, you have not told me anything that makes me want to see this movie. So, if you don't spoil it, I'm not going to see it. So you should just spoil it.
Yeah, before Spike explained the movie, I had zero interest in seeing it. After the explanation, I'm kind of interested.
It's very cool. It's very, very cool. If you have,
And
I should note, you do not have to have a working understanding of Scandinavian troll mythology to enjoy it. So don't let that discourage you, anyone.
and then what else is funny is while working on this, it was like, well, while this conversation was happening between the two of us, I was like, "Listen, you haven't told me anything that makes me want to see the movie." Um, and she's like, "But you have to figure out like you have to figure out what's going on with her." And I'm like, "Well, I'll just Google it on Wikipedia." And you're like, "No, don't spoil it." And I was like, "You can't stop me." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, I
And
understand you don't value that moment of realization like I do, Kel.
It's more that like there's a way to like get someone interested and without spoiling it completely, but you got to give them something because my presumption if someone isn't telling me about the movie,
yeah,
that means there's no way to know if this is a movie that would like I'd
yeah,
actually like.
because basically, Spike, you were telling me about an ugly, miserable lady who's a border guard, and I was like, so
Why would I want to watch this?
I want
You're like,
I want to watch this movie about this miserable border guard. Like,
what is this
um,
Coen Brothers shit? This misery parade. Yeah.
the Coen
Also,
brothers
you
are
do.
sometimes hilarious.
Also,
Case
you
in
often
point,
like to share things that genuinely upset me.
Yes, that's true.
So I'm always on my guard.
But I promise I have not, believe it or not, and Kel can attest to this because Kel has seen it, I think. I have not
no.
ruined Border for you.
Okay.
No, I have not
Oh,
seen it because I
okay.
read the Wikipedia page because you wouldn't spoil it for me,
Uh,
and then I know what happens, so I don't need to see it.
oh, see,
Um,
but yeah, I believe it or not, I have not spoiled it for you, Amanda, by telling you
Okay,
that.
cool.
It's
uh,
What would you
really good.
consider the genre?
Mundane fantasy. I think I'm not sure how I
Okay.
low
describe it.
fantasy
It's like the
or urban
thing.
fantasy.
Yeah, urban fantasy. It's just like
Okay.
it. I don't want to say this, but you know that whole "you're a wizardary" thing, like discovering you're not a normal person.
I mean, I got what you meant. I think urban
Yeah.
fantasy is pretty. It was more like if this is horror, I don't want to. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's not horror at
That
all.
kind
It's
of thing. When I say what genre, it's more
yeah,
like
Uh,
just give me the very. You don't got to get detailed. Just let me know. Is
yeah.
it scary? Is it
Not.
sad?
It's actually
Will
kind
it
of
make me
sweet.
throw up?
It's actually kind of sweet because it's almost like I imagine someone has suffered from a condition their entire life. They go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "Oh yeah, you have this," and just gives them a diagnosis, and it explains everything about their life, and they just start like
Okay.
weeping in relief in the office. It has that vibe.
Okay.
so on the topic of to spoil or not to spoil, I get very frustrated when people are so worried about spoilers that they won't tell me anything about the movie and are like, no, you just need to see it. And it's like, I have shit to do. You have not told me anything that makes me want to see this movie. So sorry, I'm never gonna go into a movie blind.
Mhm.
Um, but one of the sci-fi movies I talked about last week that I really like, it did really poorly, and it's partly because the press tour, every interview was like, "Oh, I can't tell you anything about the movie," and it's like,
Mhm.
then what is the point of the press tour?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you
because
yeah.
because basically the movie, it stars Elizabeth Moss, who played Peggy Olson, um and an actor, and they're like the only two people in the movie. And what she would say in the press tour, Elizabeth Moss would say in the press tour is, well, there's this couple and their marriage is falling apart, so they go to this house to like have be isolated from everything else so they can work on their marriage. And I can't tell you anything else. And it's like, well, you haven't told
Oh
me
yeah, we
anything
talked
interesting
about this, I
about
think,
them.
on the show
Yeah.
before.
Mhm.
Um, and then I watched the movie, and it turns out in the first 10 minutes, they reveal that the house has a guest house that's making idealized copies of their partners. So, like, if the husband goes in, an idealized copy of the wife
Appears.
gets made. And if
Yeah.
the wife goes in, an idealized copy of the husband gets made. And it's like, that's the first 10 minutes. Letting me know that's what happens is not a spoiler. That is the premise of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, and then you watch as they're basically through these sci-fi copies, you learn like, oh, their marriage is horrible because they can't trust each other and they don't respect each other's boundaries.
Yeah.
And like, so by not sharing the like duplicate thing, they didn't like convey what the movie was actually about and exploring. um
By the way, you're all getting an absolute ass full of why I don't do live draws very often. Do you see how slow I am?
um and then I feel like that would be like if Jurassic Park was all about, hey, this billionaire built a theme park on an island. And it's like,
The end.
okay, and
Yeah.
well, you have to see the movie. And it's like, that you didn't tell me any the interesting part, which is that there's dinosaurs. Um
Yeah. Beck H has said, Spike, you would really like Lamb. I know I would like Lamb. Lamb was an instant sell for me when I just heard the premise. It is on my to watch list right now as we speak. I absolutely want to see Lamb. Pretty much everything A24 does is on my at least give it a chance list because that's how much I respect A24. I
mhm.
really love that they exist. I'm so appreciative of what they do. The past couple of years in particular, I've gotten a much better understanding of what it means that they're doing what they're doing and what they are giving up by doing what they are doing. Not directly, but just sort of conceptually. And I
Mhm.
fucking super duper respect that, even if every single thing they make is not entirely to my taste. They all have been so far, but nobody's perfect. Everyone's gonna fuck up at some point.
Did you see Men?
That is also on my to watch list.
Okay. Let me know how that
Oh,
is.
yeah. And in case, seriously, A24, for folks who aren't aware, that's The Green Knight. That's Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's Marcel the Shell. That's Lamb. That's a whole lot of things. And just banger after fucking banger. They're just so cool and interesting. They're the coolest, most interesting movie production company, in my opinion, working right now.
Um, I fucking love spoilers. That's the easiest way to get me to watch a thing is to tell me a cool spoiler.
Oh, but
Um,
Kel, to expand on that thing you were talking about with Elizabeth Moss going, I can't tell you, that's a secret.
yeah.
A thing about marketing that I have again been forced to teach myself these past few years is that there's the spiel for the people you are selling to, and there's the spiel for the press. And those are
Yeah.
two very different things, and you cannot fucking confuse them. Saying, don't want to ruin the surprise is for the marks, not the reporters.
Right, but they failed
Yeah.
because no
But
one saw the movie
yeah, it sounds like
because
they
they
failed
didn't
bad.
convey what was interesting about the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I think the other movie that I ended up really enjoying, but everyone was like, "Oh, you got to go into it dry," is Cabin in the Woods.
Mm.
Um, and I nothing about Cabin in the Woods the way it was advertised made me want to see it. Um, and everyone was like, "Oh, well, you got to go in blind," and it's until someone finally told me it's
Mhm.
about people that make that force the kids in the horror movie to make the stupid decisions like they're trying it's a studio that is creating a horror movie but in the real world. Like I was
Mm.
like, okay, now I want to see it. Like
Yeah, huh. Okay. The
um
the thing that got speaking of horror movies, the thing that got me to wanna see, I'm not a huge horror movie person, and I don't even know if this can be described as a horror movie, but the thing that got me into wanting to watch Witch is when someone was all like, it's based on a true story." And I'm just like, "Oh, fuck
um I frequently find horror movies boring
yeah." Mm.
because I am not particularly interested by gore, and American horror movies seem to be very invested in gore as a thing.
Yeah.
So when the few horror movies that I've ended up liking are closer to thrillers,
Mhm.
um, or they are like a friend who knows my taste or like, no, trust me, while it even though it is a horror movie, you would like it. Um, because I like the more suspenseful stuff or body horror stuff. But when it's just like, look at all the blood and guts, I'm like, okay.
Yeah. The thing about gore for me is, quite frankly, if I wanna see the real thing, I know where to go.
Hmm.
So, it's not really it's not gonna hit, and I think Saw is another, taking it back around to Blumhouse. I think Saw is one of those ideas where it starts out super interesting. The same way, and you know what? Saw and zombie movies kind of have this in common, where they start out elegant is strong, but they're very tightly written. They have a concept they are working towards and trying to explain. But when they get super fucking popular, it just becomes about how crazy can I make this kill? Because that's all they have left.
I have yet to see a zombie movie that I like.
So, have you seen the George Romero stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, fair
it's
enough if you
fine.
don't like that, but the first, like, Night of the Living Dead, that's talking about some shit. And if you don't have to like what it's talking about, it doesn't have to grab you, but you have to admit there's more shit going on there
Yeah, I
than
know That's
Yeah.
like the best one there is, and I'm still like, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
that's fair, that's fair. I don't think it's like a masterpiece either, but he's definitely talking about shit there. And
yeah,
now
he's talking
zombie
about
movies.
consumerism. Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, the last scene where, like, the rednecks shoot one of the survivors, and it's left really ambiguous whether they even thought he was a zombie, or they just thought, "Oh, I can shoot this guy and never fucking answer for it. I just feel like shooting a black person today and getting away with it because no one will
Yeah.
ever question it. I can just tell them I thought he was a zombie." It's like that's left intentionally ambiguous. There's commentary in that film, and nowadays zombie movies are just like, "Whoa, driving my tricked out car into the zombie horde and splattering them everywhere."
I was talking to Joe about this on our stream
Mhm.
recently. Because Joe recently saw Wolf starring Jack Nicholson.
Oh, wow, wow,
Um
taking it back.
well, because it's free on YouTube right now. That's
Oh,
why.
okay.
So we're talking about the movie Wolf and about my werewolf movie opinions.
Uh-huh.
The main werewolf movie opinion I have is that a lot of werewolf movies are bad because the person who makes them are more interested in the special effects than the story 90%
That
of the time.
that's true.
Um, Wolf being one of the exceptions. I like it because it's quieter and slower and more like
Yeah.
introspective. And also, it's funny when Jack Nicholson pees on that guy's shoes. And then
Yeah.
uh but like a lot of this is where I'm also a big proponent of change the rules of your supernatural thing if it's in the way of your story.
Uh-huh.
um the original Wolfman is what made the transforming during the full moon thing.
Yeah, the
um
original Wolfman movie, yeah.
Yeah, and the reason why it is in there is because it's supposed to be like a ticking clock to add tension to the movie. And then every werewolf movie copied it, not thinking about how that affects their movie.
Yeah.
So a lot of movies, werewolf movies, are person gets bit and then we have to wait a long time until they actually turn into a werewolf. And they haven't actually thought of how that affects their story that you have this big gap of time without werewolf stuff in it. Um, and to the point where the best werewolf movie, American Werewolf in London, he gets bit, he's in a coma for 3 weeks, and now he's woken up, so we can get straight to the werewolf nonsense.
Yeah.
Um, and whereas a lot of other movies are like, oh, this happened, and now now they don't know what's going on, and oh, now
They
they're sniffing around, and we're gonna kill some time in the movie, and we're gonna kill some more time in the movie, and now we've gotten to the part that we think is interesting and cool, and now the movie's over.
Yeah, yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of modern zombie movies also like they don't have that pacing problem that werewolf movies have, but they're also like the gore and the effects are
All
what
people,
they're
yeah.
invested in, and like
Yeah. I agree. I think most modern zombie movies are fucking painfully boring. I,
mhm.
I think most modern zombie movies are incredibly preoccupied with, look how cool it would be if I was in the zombie apocalypse. This is definitely how it would go for me.
It's definitely like a libertarian gun
Fantasy,
hoarder
yeah.
fantasy self-fulfillment.
Yeah, it pushes. I'm not one of these people, it's like, where, "Oh, media absolutely damages people's ability to interface with the world." Like, I'm not that person, but simultaneously, there's probably a significant proportion of people in this chat right now that think bears like honey and rabbits like carrots and gorillas and chimpanzees are especially fond of bananas, and
I mean,
that
bears
is the
do like
fault.
honey.
They don't seek it out like fucking Yogi
Yeah.
or
I
Pooh
mean,
Bear.
depending on the bear.
No, they don't. They don't fucking abscond. They don't fucking go through their day going, God, I have to find honey. Bears don't do that. Like a rabbit will eat a carrot, but it actually prefers green leafy stuff.
Well, actually,
No, really.
rabbits. Well,
Rabbits
it's
do like carrots, it's just they're not
rabbits
nutritious
do.
for them.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's rabbits like carrots the way humans like chocolate. They should not eat only chocolate, but they will die because they're not getting the nutrients they need.
What I
But
am saying
yeah,
is
I
that
understand your point. It's
yeah,
media affecting people's perception.
yes, we can
Um,
sit here and argue about how much on a scale of 1 to 10 rabbits like carrots, but the fact of the matter remains people who believe rabbits like carrots without ever interfaced with any particular rabbit believe so because of media. Again,
mhm.
I don't think it's because media damages people or turns them into zombies that don't know how to think. I just think media colors a lot of people's opinions, sometimes unjustly,
No, I
about
agree.
the world.
Yeah.
Examples,
Yeah,
Uh,
I understand, but
I
I'm
looked it
just
up. I
saying.
am right. Bears do like honey and seek it out. It's just not the only thing they eat.
No, it's not the only thing they eat by miles. The same way they seek out picnic baskets, but it's not the only thing they eat.
Yeah, it's like I know I get what you're saying. It's just you know,
Yeah,
it's
uh,
kind of like how people
uh,
always have rats eating cheese, which makes sense. That is a thing that they are attracted to. But people who have pet rats, should not give their rats cheese. They are not supposed to eat it. It will give them the diarrhea.
exactly the point I am
uh,
making. I think that a lot of people have developed very ridiculous ideas about, quite frankly, what end of the world scenarios would actually look like because of the media they
uh,
consume.
so Spike, I'm frequently on a panel at conventions called Monster or Metaphor. Um, and on it, the thing that I always rant about is that right now, at
By the
least,
way, oh wait,
zombies are, at least in current media, zombies are the middle class's fear of the poor and minorities,
yeah,
which is why it's that wish fulfillment of the gun hoarding libertarian that they can shoot them with impunity.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's actually nothing new either.
yeah.
There is a lot of sort of talk every once in a while. It comes in fits and starts. It comes in waves. But every once in a while, some isolated corner of the internet will rediscover 50s bomb shelters were an actual thing some people built. And they'll
Hmm.
be all like, haha, isn't this silly that they sat there and thought they could just bury themselves in a hole in the ground and survive a nuclear fucking apocalypse? How ridiculous. That's not how it would have gone. And it's like, no, you're right. It would have been a terrible, they would have extended their suffering, best case scenario. They would have extended their suffering. They would have wished they died weeks ago with everyone else. But it wasn't about that. What it was about was the fantasy of anarchy. It was the
Hmm.
fantasy of having a gun in this little sort of vault that you built in your backyard full of Campbell's soup and a composting toilet and a ham radio and fantasizing about how you were going to be fine, but everyone else was going to die. And hey, the bombs are coming, and you hear your neighbors screaming in horror. And that guy never returned your hedge clippers. Fuck that guy. Ha ha ha. It wasn't about wanting and intending and being capable of surviving an apocalyptic world. It was about the fantasy of anarchy, the same way zombie shit these days, in my opinion, is about the fantasy of anarchy.
Um, but
I,
also it is about, like, when it's not focused on that wish fulfillment side, it is about the fear of the masses of the poor,
Yeah.
like,
Oh, for sure.
or yeah, and then I then continue to be like, and vampires are clearly the 1%, which is why werewolves are the proletariat of movie monsters. Um,
You know, a thing that took me like literal fucking years to figure out? I used
but
to honestly be of the opinion I didn't like sci-fi because all the sci-fi all the sci-fi books and short story collections I was reading They were from a very old collection that my family had inherited from another family, like a friend of the family who had a son who was super into sci-fi and then went to college, and he decided, okay, give away my book collection. So I was reading really old stuff.
Mhm.
And a lot of it had a very familiar trope, and that trope is something that I began calling in my mind, when is it our turn? And the when is it our turn trope is, usually it's in the 50s or 60s, these stories are from, where America, primarily, almost always America, aliens show up and they do a colonialism. And
Mhm.
there's all this horror and rending of garments and screaming in fear about how powerless and terrified all the people were now that they are having the colonialism done to them.
Oh yeah, that's basically what War of the Worlds is.
Yeah, it is. And I remember reading this like, this isn't interesting. Your story about, oh no, now we will be enslaved is not interesting to me. And I guess I just don't like sci-fi because every time I'm handed a sci-fi book, this is what's in it. I don't care about any of this. It's like, oh no, no, no. See, what I didn't understand at the time, these are people working through their anxieties and
Yeah.
trying to address them in a socially
I
acceptable way.
will I will give War of the Worlds credit in that unlike a lot of the other When Is It Our Turn stories,
Uh-huh.
because it focuses on dad is looking for his family, like it makes it slightly more of an emotional through line than a lot of
Mhm.
the other early sci-fis.
Mhm.
When I first got into audiobooks, I went through like a classic book and then a modern book. Like it was a lot of stuff that I feel like I should have been familiar with. Um, and I realized very quickly that I did not give a shit about Jules Verne, but I did actually like H.G. Wells's stuff,
Mhm.
because H.G. Wells usually um, had some sort of emotional through line in his stories.
Mhm.
Um, like the thing, whenever The Invisible Man gets adapted, I'm constantly shaking my head because my favorite thing about The Invisible Man never makes it into modern adaptations of it, which is the story is told through town gossip.
Oh.
Which makes it kind of funny because it's like, hey, that guy who's staying at the inn, he always has bandages around his head. What do you think happened to him? Do you think he's a burn victim? And it's just like that's how the mystery of the Invisible Man is explored. It's just like nosy neighbors. And then when they find out, it's like, oh no, he could be in this room. And that would mean he's naked. Like, he could be rubbing his dick on my couch right now, and I would never know. Um,
So, heads up.
Mhm.
I was trying to give y'all the warning a while ago. We hit the 2 hour mark about
mhm.
25 minutes ago. So
Yeah.
just so y'all know.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
just want to mention too that there has been a lot of interesting discussion
Mhm.
about the attraction of marginalized people to monsters. And I have been on the periphery of that discussion just as an observer. And a lot of it does ring true. And it's just super interesting for me to see that kind of addressed academically these days.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at what I'm fucking doing right now. I love monsters. The main two characters that I draw these days are literal functional monsters that aren't really fulfilling the classic monster "Roar, I eat your babies" role. They're just these sort of terrible inhuman things that, just let a bitch live. They're just trying to have a life. And that is apparently an incredibly common
I thought one of
feature.
them did eat baby.
Well, here's the thing about Boltungan. She will absolutely fucking eat you. If she is not eating you, it's because she is choosing in that moment to not eat you. And it's not hard to make her not eat you. She's not a nice person, but she's capable of recognizing your sapience.
Mhm.
It's just that she's equally capable of not giving a shit about it if you decide you wanna get mouthy today. That's why I like her. She's fun.
Boltungen's very good.
Voltungen is excellent. And she has a spot. Not that, by the way, everyone, like, spoilery, I guess, but don't fucking ever give me a hard time about Boltungen's spots. They are where I feel like putting them, and if they're not there in the next time I draw her, that's just how it goes.
That's just how you felt in the moment.
Exactly. Like, this is just how we're doing it today. Don't
I
worry
mean,
about
they're
it.
shapeshifters. The spots can come and go as she
Yes,
pleases.
yes. Her spots are like Rorschach's mask. They just
They move.
woo, they just go around like that. Yeah. But yeah, Wanjiri, those stories hit a lot different when they're written in the global south. I bet. I fucking bet. Like, as a person, I'm a woman and I'm black and I'm in America, which is like the fucking hometown of anti-blackness as this horrific, inescapable global force. Like, I am incredibly accustomed to having my right to exist as an independent thinking entity casually questioned on a near daily basis. So forgive me if I'm not super into fiction that's all like, but they're going to not treat us like equals. Like, how fucking horrible for you. Oh, wow. How will you deal with that?
Also, but Spike, the Invisible
Hmm.
Man could be rubbing his junk on your couch right now, and you
He,
would not know.
he better be. He fucking better be. That's a good couch. It deserves some attention.
Um, it's one of these days, like Evan did his Moby Dick, illustrated Moby Dick. I'm like, I should sit down and release like an illustrated The Invisible Man because it is goofy as shit. Whenever The Invisible Man gets a modern adaptation that makes it a horror movie, I'm like, no, you read it wrong. Like, it is about gossipy bitches.
Uh-huh.
Realizing that there's an invisible guy in their neighborhood and then constantly worried that he's in their house and is naked.
Yeah. A while back, I couldn't tell you exactly when, but at some point, I was informed by sort of the atmosphere, by osmosis, by cultural osmosis. I was informed that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is about a coke fiend functionally. It's about someone just absolutely swinging on coke. And that's the allegory. And I didn't know that because when I first made my first attempt at reading that, I was too young. I didn't catch that at all. But on the second read, I was like, holy shit. I thought that was really cool. So yeah, if anyone here somehow got this far without knowing that or being told that, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is an allegory for drug abuse and addiction.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, because the original way he took the potion was not drinking it, it was he would shoot it up.
and there was a whole sort of like it's kind of like when you first are told the Matrix is allegorical for transness, and you go back and you watch it and you go, oh my fucking God, it really is. Like, you
Uh,
had to be told, and you're like, holy shit. The same thing is going down with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like, oh, he's
yeah.
fine, and he seems to be fine, and
He's,
he's holding it together, but then he disappears for 2 weeks and comes back a
yeah.
fucking wreck with no money. Oh my
My older brother is in my chat and he's saying hi to all of us. It's his birthday, so we should all say hi, Martin. Happy
Hi,
birthday, Martin.
Martin.
Hey, Martin, happy birthday! Many happy returns of the day. Hope you got exactly what you wanted.
Yeah. But yeah, like it's also like him shooting it up makes it 100% clearer that he
Yeah,
is a drug addict.
yeah. But when you're
Um,
a kid, you miss that shit like
well,
vroom.
it's also when you're a kid, you're probably seeing cartoon depictions of him where
Uh-huh.
he is drinking a potion rather than shooting
Yeah.
up.
And again,
Um,
that's media for you. It's like you get
yeah.
misinformed by media and you just carry that misinformation with you.
Um, and then there's some interesting stuff about werewolves and representing the other that's out there.
Yeah.
starting with Judaism, the guy who wrote the Wolfman movie in the 40s was a Jewish man that left Germany right before the Holocaust happened.
Ooh, boy, I bet that's some survivor's guilt.
There was like an anniversary edition to the original Wolfman that I have, where there's an interview with him where he talks about, so the full moon is Nazism, and it
Mhm.
is turning me as a Jewish man into a monster in the eyes of everyone else in the country.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I think that having that sort of context makes it interesting that the person who tells him about the Wolfman curse is a group of Romani people.
Mhm.
Um, and it adds some interesting layers in there that obviously gets lost on most
Mm.
people.
Yeah. Literalism is the death of art, but the problem with art is that inevitably, if it gets popular enough, it will be taken literally and never again be interpreted as allegorical
Yeah,
or fantastical.
and that also kind of fits a lot of the really, really old werewolf stories, like before movies and whatnot.
Mhm.
A thing that I like about them is that the horror of them is not, oh, you turn into a big monster that then kills everyone that you love. It is, you turn into a wolf and then your friends and family hunt you down because they think of you as a beast rather than
Yeah.
um
A
so
person.
so your loved ones become the danger to you rather than you being the danger to your loved ones.
Mm. But, I call it the "let's start a fight club for real" theory of media. That eventually it's like no one will get it. Eventually, if you become popular enough, no one will fucking get it. And you'll have this contingent of people that believe no matter what you said is what you meant. There's no layers, there's no allegory, there's no metaphor. The
Mhm.
moral of the story is let's start a fight club.
Listen, I know authors that use subtext and they're cowards. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. It's just it's something that like there was a thing I shared in the Iron Circus Slack has a random channel, and there is a image I shared recently that I will admit I stole from r/starter pack, which is just a subreddit that makes starter pack memes. And it was the "you missed the point by idolizing them" starter pack. And it
yeah.
had a picture of like Rick from Rick and Morty and the Joker and Don Draper.
You know who idolizes Don Draper?
Who
Pete Campbell. Um, at
but yeah,
least at the
the
beginning of Mad Men he does.
yeah, but yeah, you missed the point by idolizing them starter pack is just one of those things that wow, that makes me so fucking sad. And I there's just a whole contingent of people out there ready, just balancing on the fucking edge, waiting to wildly misinterpret your life's work.
um, yeah, yeah. Um, what I love about shit that ain't subtle
Mhm.
is the movie Wolfwalkers. Um, it's a kids movie, so as an excuse to not be subtle.
Yeah.
It is during English colonizing Ireland and also exterminating wolves in the area.
Mhm.
So you have Irish werewolves fighting against oppressive English colonizers that want to force everyone to follow their religion. So the message of Wolfwalkers is fuck colonialism in the English
Mhm.
and be a gay pagan werewolf.
The moral of the story, yes.
Yeah,
How you doing, Amanda?
Fine.
Yeah, you ready to call it quits? It's getting kind of late.
That's up to you.
Oh.
I'm
How are you
fine.
feeling?
I finished my page. I'm done. So
Yeah. I'm mostly just sitting here noodling. I can call it quits if y'all want to call it quits. What do you say?
All right.
I'm good.
All right. Never even got to draw for the record. It's an axe. Okay. Everybody, you can find me at iron_spike on Twitter. You can also find my company, Iron Circus Comics, the biggest comics publisher in the American Midwest, multi-Eisner winning, decorated, fucking nominated for Ignatz's, nominated for Ringo's, just a real big dick swinging company founded by little old me with a little help from my friends at Iron Circus Comics on Twitter, with comics spelled Comix, because I couldn't fit it spelled properly. We're also on Instagram at Iron Circus, all one word, and we have a Facebook page, Iron Circus Comics. You can follow those. Please, please, pretty please go to backerkit.com. Check out crowdfunding by BackerKit and scroll down until you see the Smut Peddler double header and click the sign up so you can get alerted when we launch. We would really love a really strong launch for this awesome fucking 10-year anniversary double header crowdfund. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Please do not forget to like this video and follow Iron Circus Comics on YouTube. My Let's Play series for Rimworld will debut in the coming weeks.
My name is Kel McDonald. You can find me at Twitter at Kelhound, spelt like Hellhound with a K. I make comics about gay werewolves in the future that you can read at kelmcdonald.com or werewolf.business. You can also read a comic I do about 23 kids getting the same prophecy dream, telling them they're the chosen one on my Patreon, which is patreon.com/kelmcdonald. I also stream every Tuesday, Wednesday, and during Geek Show on my Twitch, twitch.tv/kelmcdonald. And I have a Discord where I watch werewolf movies with people that like my comics. If you would like an invite to said Discord, just message me and let me know. Yeah. Read my shit.
Yeah. Amanda, what's up?
I'm Amanda Lafrene, AmandaLafreneAIS. If you add a .com to that, you'll go to my website, and that links to most of my stuff. I recently had a new Slipshine update. I know people have been missing those, so if you're interested in seeing a new addition to my Slipshine stories, you can go to slipshine.net to read that. Well, I mean, if you have a... That's it.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good one.